In progress.
Corey will not be joining us. One of the neighbors got a big buck down by the river, so Fisher and Corey are trying to help him get that up.
Carol's not coming, and I don't think Melissa's coming.
Is Carol well or?
No, I think she's like done.
Oh.
I
don't need to be
last
there.
month. She was like, mic drop, I'm out.
I literally left this chair. I would have sat next to you, but I literally left this open because I thought she might be coming.
Carol's chair. You're right, that's like
I
Carol's
was gonna sit next to Joanne. That's Carol's spot. Oh. I get it. I get it.
Well, no, because it wasn't supposed to happen until January 1st.
Well, you know, if she just thinks, but if she believes that she's a support person now, she probably doesn't
Supposed to happen
really.
until January 1st.
No, but she really doesn't, at the November meeting, does she really need to be here
That's today.
I know, but I mean,
She
it
doesn't,
seems like it will be,
she made the decision that, no, she's not coming.
yes, she did, yes, she did.
You said Alyssa's not coming either?
She said she wasn't. She has a school conference at 6:30. so-
Okay.
Oh, yes, this.
Did you get a report?
I.
Nothing's probably different.
No.
Would anything have changed?
Wait, she did email me this week, let me just see what it says.
And then Joanne, am I emailing with you now with the Gold Rush webcom?
Yeah.
Oh, is that you? Okay.
I guess, because Carol's not responding.
Well, I responded and I wasn't sure if I should say, hey, Joanne, or hey.
I
Carol.
know,
So
I was
just like,
like, wait.
Because
it's-
is this?
In my
So I have everything flagged, because like, I don't know what to do with this, flag it. It's like, Carol, help.
she said I sent you back that she's in Cass.
Oh,
And
okay.
then, but she said she already went ahead and responded to them.
Oh, yes, I have the treasurer's report, so you can be on for that. I'll give that to her. She sent that to me at 2:00. I knew she did.
Tired.
Oh, God, there's a back of my head. Seeing that I am the treasurer and everything.
There's a back of my head right there.
I'm glad she sends. me
Oh,
that.
gosh.
She's not gonna be here.
Reminder, don't sit at the end.
They get a full view.
Yeah.
Oh, it looks like Rylan got this too.
Ugh.
If you want to call.
And my
on
shirt looks like
treasurer's
extra
report.
blue.
Alyssa did
Oh,
send that
he
to me.
actually printed it out.
Oh, you did. I didn't even get to that page yet. Okay.
No,
If you
I'm
want me to
helping out at Century a lot.
So that I can read
Oh,
the
yeah?
email
Yeah,
when
when
we
you
get
get
to it,
Yeah.
and then everyone can do that.
Good, good, it's just busy. You know, there's a lot of kids that in and out and stuff like that. You just- I do it, front office, so.
Oh,
Security,
Kristen?
we're a secure building, like that
yeah.
building, so.
I haven't talked to
We
Kristen
got a
in
new
like 2
security
months,
system
and that's rare,
So we,
because I actually usually
allows
talk to
people
her.
in
Mhm.
and that kind of stuff, so.
When it starts
I don't
recording,
mind that.
Dana,
What?
that starts recording or is it started itself?
It says it's
On
recording.
It says it's recording, it's on.
Oh, no.
Yeah,
it is?
so
Okay.
that's the system I usually do, but I don't.
Then it just showed me freaking out about the back of my head.
I won't hit the button.
But
So it's Paul
what is that?
and Heather. Something happened to her.
Summer, I think? Yeah, he's, and then I'm coming on Saturday night.
Okay.
The Saturday night, yeah, the
Yeah,
gathering,
yeah, Stacy is too.
yeah.
I'm not It's hard for me to give up my weekends.
I know, right?
It's a
Not enough
long week.
people?
Yeah.
2, 3, 4.
I know, because I think it's Friday and Saturday. Yeah, and then Heather
We have to have
has,
6.
we'll have
So we have
some,
6.
like Lily, her and Lily Quest have Bella.
Remember, we remember
There?
from last
On
time.
Sundays?
She's a Bella too. Okay.
So then we got Sunday afternoons.
Oh.
And,
Just
yeah.
no rest.
Yeah, so
So
then
we're
we're
short
making,
1.
well, he's gonna be making his.
Is
that right?
We're actually shorter
spaghetti
for Sunday.
And meatballs.
I thought we did 5.
That's his
It's
Grandmother,
specialty.
right?
yeah,
Googled it
grandmother's
really
recipe,
last
but then
night
he's
because
like,
she had to leave.
Laura wants him to make it into like a hot dish.
Oh.
So he's gonna put
Six.
like noodles underneath, so it's gonna be a little different.
Okay.
I'm gonna assemble it differently
So 5 is the
before I
majority.
go, so
Yeah.
he's gonna assemble it differently.
Oh, is
And I
it?
think he's
Yeah.
Maybe
making,
then there was 5 of us and it was
if
gonna be
he's
4.
able to, it's,
It's right, that's right,
It takes a
because it was
while.
you and
and then
Carol,
depending.
And I think
we
we
have
don't-
to
we
do
don't
it sooner
count.
than the
right,
morning.
but then it was me, Dana, Ryland,
Oh, really?
not Jim, it was Christine
Wow, I
and
thought they would
Corey.
do
That was our before.
They are.
That's correct, that's correct,
Those
I'm
things
sorry,
like-
I knew there was
The last
some.
few batches you made, you just made them for work.
Mhm.
You didn't have.
Okay,
to
we'll
put-
go ahead and get started.
Okay, make something.
6:05.
Everybody wants it.
6:01. Opposed to 7 o'clock, it says 7 o'clock. All right. There's an agenda there, entertain a motion to approve the agenda or any corrections?
I'll second.
I wanted to make one correction. The annual meeting, I don't know why, but it doesn't list me as secretary, so I'll just pop that in there. Or is that because I'm not,
Is there something you want to add?
does it, on the annual meeting, it doesn't list me as secretary? Does it need to be there or?
Oh, sure. Oh, I see, under annual meeting,
Yep.
yes, got it. You know, I was thinking about that this morning or sometime and
Can you press the?
Also, the date says November 9th on it. Well, it'll have to be changed today.
It was just doing that reverb. Could you hear it?
oh, yeah,
It was
thank
doing
you.
that, so you gotta do that.
Super.
Yes, sir, Ryland, just one other change is that it says the 9th on the top instead of the 8th.
For
Oh,
tonight?
yeah.
Thank you.
Number 8, November 8th, nothing else. Thank you.
Who motioned to approve it? I'm sorry.
I did.
And the next meeting is not November the 8th, be December the 13th.
On the bottom, yep.
On the bottom, yes.
Okay.
I don't think I was here when I did that, okay. Somewhere.
You were taking a nap.
There we go.
All
All in
right,
favor of the,
who seconded it? Sorry.
Melissa did.
What was it?
I'm sorry, he initiated, I seconded,
Thank you.
sorry.
All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
I-
It's approved. Motion for the October 11th meeting minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve the,
Yeah.
Actually, I have a correction.
oh,
Second,
you have, she has
She
a
has a
correction.
My last name's spelled wrong.
Oh,
Just
that's
a
gonna happen all the time.
It's a typographical error, so 2 N's.
100% gonna do that. And also to Joanne 1,000 times. Don't ask me why.
Oh, I probably will do that too. I've done it. I have actually done it to an email to you before. Everything else looks wonderful.
who seconded the motion?
I'll second it.
Christie. Okay. All right. Any other comments? All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Approved. Treasurer's report. Um,
So,
yeah, go ahead, Leslie.
yep, Alyssa's not here, but she did forward me, and you will have a copy in front of you. It's a Gmail email report or printout. Hello, I have reconciled the checkbook as of today. The estimate remaining for donations has not changed from last month. There is $18,000 available to cover the holdback for operations, which was discussed. Should be at least 5,000, but considering holding back additional dollars to be better prepared for weather in the future. I have included $7,000 as a holdback in the amount below. If $7,000 is held for operations and savings, there is approximately $11,000 left to distribute, same as I showed last month. I will not be at the meeting as I have a school conference for a child tonight. You can see below bank balance, there's some escrow stuff for 5K. Looks like a couple of reimbursements. A little bit of advertising. As far as I know, the last time I talked to Alyssa, all of the major invoicing, well, all of the invoicing we were expecting to come through has come through now. So we are, if you look at the remaining balance left for donations, less the $7,000 holdback, we're at 11,352.09 as of today. As a part of the treasurer's report, Alyssa also states that she does represent the IRX tax filing from July 15th for last season, and Joanne did receive notice that stated it was not filed, but I did file it and the certified mail receipt is attached. So that's kind of that. So if we had holdbacks of $7,000 for next year, we still have 11,000-ish to kind of play with. I think we did talk about at the last meeting, increasing that to somewhere around 10.
Right, and I think we'll, when we get down to donations, talk about what
Yep.
possibilities we have
Okay.
there.
I just want to
That
mention
ties
it because I
into
knew
our-
Jim wasn't here for the last meeting and there was some discussion of kind of bringing that up.
Yeah.
That 7,000 up to 10, the whole back.
Right, yeah,
Yeah,
okay, we'll circle back to that again
Okay.
when we get on donations.
Sounds good?
All right. All right. Okay, Gold Rush event. Two items was, talked about planning for next year and how will construction interfere, so the Gold Rush. Yeah, we talked about identifying those lots. I know there's an issue with, not an issue, but there's a concern that when we start doing that, the spreadsheet that we have, because we don't lose, when we start moving vendor spots, like from the church parking lot or into D&E or something like that, whatever we decide to do in the consolidation, we have to work with, the way I understood it from Carol was that we need to work with people that are in those lots too, and make, so we work with them when we're doing that consolidation too. Not that we don't, we definitely want to move it, we're just making sure we got to do it in a organized way and so for those vendors and everything, so.
Good communication so that it's not disruptive.
Right.
I don't know.
Um,
I don't know if we know yet.
so the December 6th or November, next Tuesday night, the 16th, that's when we're going to award the contracts. And that's when we'll start the process. So hopefully sometime after that meeting, I don't know if it'll be late November, but early December, we'll have a pre-construction meeting with Stan Tech. And hopefully at those meetings, those, or that meeting, the contractors will come with their scheduling of events, of how they're going to start, where they're going to start. What part of town, the west side, the east side. I envision the first thing they start doing is building the road to the treatment plant and start working on the treatment plant. So there's been a lot of, Joe's had a lot of conversations with the contractor recently. As an example, the contractor, because of the supplies and the shortage, they can't get the precast walls for the buildings for the treatment plant until next August. And so what they're thinking about having to do is they'll just cast the walls in place at the treatment plant versus buying from a supplier the precast pieces.
So does that delay any, does that delay digging and pipes and stuff in town? Is that something that needs to be done first, or are they still on schedule for starting to do what we don't know until the end of the month?
Don't know
Okay.
if we have that meeting yet.
Okay,
So where's the alternative?
What's that?
You mentioned something about like moving some of the vendors.
oh, consolidating.
Okay, so there's no plan to move them to a different area or anything?
Yeah,
If-
Yeah,
we're gonna
Okay.
take
Within our own footprint.
Oh, okay.
within our D&E area that wasn't very full back here this week.
Oh, yeah.
D&E, what's D&E?
That's the areas around the building here.
Oh,
into
Yeah,
the
in the
north.
garage.
Okay.
That's a nice
Okay.
spot.
so a lot of the spots, especially the flat spots that
Mhm.
were not being utilized this year at the show,
Yeah,
were in kind of the back side of the building between here and like the city garage.
oh, yeah, yep,
So what we're talking about is because it's kind of spread out and there was so much space still left over there. Trying to consolidate, get those vendors closer next to each other
sure,
so that they're not, we don't have these big gaps,
yeah,
it seems like we have less vendors, there's less. We kind of want to pull it in tighter so that
yeah,
A, some of the older folks can do it in less walking.
Yeah.
But B, also make sure that those vendors feel like, they're having an opportunity to get all of the visitors, and it's not like we're way over here, so we're not getting so there has been some discussion because of the size of the show this year, and we don't know what it will be like next year. Hopefully we'll be bigger. We'd always like to do that. But there was some discussion and also considering the construction of possibly taking or discussing with the vendors that are on the east side of Minnesota Avenue, and getting them moved, getting the entire show sort of moved to the west side, basically.
As many as we can.
Basically.
We still have the right of ways, but still.
Right, but basically,
areas,
if the number of vendors that are actually left on the east side were very minimal.
Yeah.
We have more than
That's right.
double the
60.
people that were on the east side. We have more than double those spots available on the west side. So if we can consolidate, we were talking about doing that, if that makes sense.
Yeah, so now when you say about moving people from the church, I'm assuming church over here?
Right, from the
Parking lot.
Grace, yeah. from the-
Okay, and is that because of construction, then you would just move them, or?
Well,
The
no,
price is too high.
Well, and construction,
Possibly,
because
but
if we
can't.
only can deal with the main vein of Minnesota Avenue, it would be much easier for the show to consolidate and not have to deal with construction, and we have no idea what the right of ways are gonna look like.
Right.
Some of them could be dug up, and we could have the same problem on the west side.
Yeah,
Right.
We're just trying to figure out, like, if we consolidate it all to one side or the other, it will be easier to manage than we got construction everywhere, and we're trying to figure out right of ways and people and how to navigate parking. I mean, parking also could end up being an issue. We don't know, we just don't.
so we're just
know.
pulling people from all, vendors from all
And
areas.
centralizing
bringing them back
everybody.
here.
everybody.
We're hoping to.
Right.
Yeah.
We're hoping to. The other discussion thing that we don't know about is if the Rochester show, there's been talk that might not happen.
Oh, really?
So then we worry about, we might have a whole lot more new vendors. And so there's just,
We just
there's a
don't know.
lot of
Yeah.
right now. Yeah, there's a lot of unknowns, but, and if we do decide to consolidate, which is when we have interviewed our shoppers in 2019, we did that.
Mhm.
That was one of the big things, is when it's so spread out, it's just it's too much for one day. It's
Mhm.
too much for the elderly, people who are older. So we can't control what individual people have in their yards, but we can make it easier for people that are shopping from the city vendors. So
And
it's
only
been a
to,
feedback for a long
yeah,
time.
and only to add that from a treasurer's kind of like perspective, it would help us save money in the
Yes.
show as far as porta potties, garbage,
Oh, gosh,
if we consolidate to one
Yeah.
side versus we can cut out a lot of, there's some overhead that can be cut out. And if you do look at what we made in proceeds as far as a whole 3-day show
Mhm.
and what the waste management went up last year, porta potties tripled last year. There's so much expenditure.
Porta potties down.
It was huge.
Yeah.
It was humongous. It was huge.
Waste
So,
management was free, though. There was no charge for that.
right, but I'm just saying, like, all of the
expenses, yeah.
yes, all of the expenses are spread out in this, in a huge area that some of it is not being utilized as far as money. For me, I think the goal is we want to make as much as we can. We all work really hard. We plan really hard for the show. I really want to see that number be a lot higher next year.
Yeah.
I'm concerned about what the profit was, and I think it would be helpful.
Yeah.
We could cut expenses too, is my point.
So the one comment that was made is, as far as the church goes, we send them a check for $2,500 for those 60-some lots.
Oh,
So those aren't the right-of-way lots, but those are on the flat parking lot.
Oh.
So we're thinking about
Okay.
moving those 60 lots, whatever that number is, I think it's 60, moving those lots and consolidating over here on this side, so we're not having that expense.
sure,
So,
okay.
And I can see that makes a lot of sense too, because then maybe with the sewer project, you can focus on one spot and have everybody moved.
Well,
And it'd
and
be a lot more, seamless.
if we have the opportunity to work with the construction too, if we do get some heads up, depending on what goes on in that meeting, if we have any, I don't know that we'll have any say, but if we can get a better idea of where they think they're gonna start and be,
Yeah, because.
Midsummer, it would be very helpful to us. So I think there's information we definitely have to wait
They will
for.
stop work the third week, that week of Gold Rush, they will stop work. So there's no.
But I mean, they'll
construction, so-
stop what they're doing,
But they could have.
but they could have
pipes laid.
a whole bunch of stuff dug up, there could be stuff
Yeah.
And
taped
there's, I
off, there
think part
could
of the
be
contract
streets
is they
closed.
leave accessibility for everybody too.
Mhm.
So like in the case of Minnesota Avenue, that's not gonna be torn up.
Right.
They will go underneath it several places.
Yeah,
But like First Avenue, First Avenue, the street over here, the side streets through here and down First Avenue Northeast, they'll all be torn up at some time in the construction. It's just a matter of when.
yeah,
Yeah.
let's just hope it's after.
Yeah,
But,
like
I
we
mean,
just,
they gotta do it when they gotta do it.
Well,
Yeah,
and
I mean,
it's a project, it's not gonna just be a year, it'll
Yeah.
probably affect one of our shows in the upcoming years.
and the other
Yeah.
thing too
Yeah,
is
that's true.
beyond them coming through and actually laying the pipe and doing all the things they gotta do, we're also dealing with individual residential hookups. They're not all gonna do that on the same week. Some of
No,
them
they
maybe
got 2
will.
years or-
But so, you're gonna have that, maybe these three guys are getting hookups right now, so they're dug up out to the street. We have no idea what that's gonna look like. And that's both sides of town.
Yeah.
It's really, it's gonna be a
Yeah, we don't know until,
potentially,
We don't know, but I
yeah,
don't think we should.
we're gonna keep our fingers crossed, I think.
right,
Wish I had more to tell you. but I don't, so.
Yeah, we just,
We'll just revisit it in the
Yeah.
December meeting and just, well, I think it's gonna have to be like a working thing, a working
Kind
thing.
of a
And I
floating
do
thing.
think, and I did talk to, when I talked to some of our vendors on that side this year, I did mention that. I said, there will be changes next year and in the following years because of our project, which means because some people are incredibly attached to their lots. Like
Oh,
the
yeah.
people in the Pines,
You know where to go.
Margaret on the corner across from the post office with fabric, she's been there forever, and so people just know.
where she is.
Right,
Yeah.
so that is a problem. They see that as a problem, but what I've told everybody, if everybody is moving, I can see if we just moved you, and like everybody else got to stay, but since everybody is moving, it'll be a new experience for all shoppers and all vendors. So it's actually a good time if we wanted to think about consolidating and bringing everybody closer together in our area over, it's a good time to do it and have everybody,
And I do think we can help sort of
and they understand.
market that to some of the vendors as, hey, these are the spots that we have available. We do have flat spaces. We do have places that are closest to the road. We do have places that are closest to the porta potties. Do you have a preference? Would you like to pick your new lot? Here's what's available. Can we, for some of the people that might have a tough time about
Well, and I think
relocating, we
Joanne
can
and-
use some of the,
Yeah,
you
Carol.
do have
will-
some
you guys-
choice,
There's
give them
people
some
that
options.
need blacktop because of their big furniture and there's less of that because we have less of those vendors now. So actually quite a few of our vendors in the church parking lot that used to require or insist on those areas no longer come. There were a lot of new vendors in that. So that's again, a good time, to move
Well,
people.
and I think it's great because like you said, you're putting everybody together, you're increasing their foot traffic.
I mean,
you
I
know-
would think it's, yeah, I mean, it's gonna be interesting feedback the first. And I think we'll just have to take that feedback and
mean,
use it
there's-
as, and use it to be,
Yeah.
make it better and.
There are, like the backside of the Pines. Those are not all flat lots there. A lot of those are
No, I'm
some deep,
talking about the flat in the parking lot.
oh, yeah.
Those.
But even if we were to consider this same notion for the Pines, the whole backside of the Pine, those are not
Well,
flat lots. A lot of those
no.
are the deep ditch
Yes,
lots.
and
And so if they have the opportunity
they're
to get a
just-
better flat
And those are
lot,
the right of way lots, except.
They
for
are the
ones
right
along
of
the
way,
alley.
but what they appreciate there is the shade,
shade.
yeah,
which is something
Oh,
we don't have
Yeah, that's true.
here.
right.
So that is
Yeah.
something that's gonna be tricky. So they're mostly about the shade and then just like, because the Pines used to be full, right? Like that used to be, the middle was full and the outside.
Oh.
And so people just been there for a very long time, but the vendors that are there, their lots have shrunk because the church won't let them put, I mean, they won't let them put anything, even just a tiny bit onto the, not out of the right of way.
So they put the
So they're,
rope around.
you know, some are vendors who've been there for a very long time, I think wouldn't mind moving just because it's gotten more difficult to be there in the last few years.
And just having to deal with the church on parking too.
Yes, yep, all that has been not great for the vendors for the last few years. So I think, again, it might be a good time to make this change.
Did they, that flat lot, isn't that their parking? The open lot in the pines?
They didn't use it this year
Inside
for
the
parking.
pines,
2
yeah.
years ago
Oh.
they did, but they didn't this year. They left it open for nothing.
Okay.
They
Well, they didn't charge us, sure.
I didn't have any, I don't think they could get volunteers to,
Oh, really?
no, they didn't have anybody.
Yeah, there
parking.
wasn't anybody parked over in there.
2 years ago they did though.
I did see an attendant sitting over there as if maybe someone was going to, but I don't know
I
what
think they
was.
were just,
Yeah,
I
I
think,
saw a few in there. I think it was like $5.
so they let a few vendors, from what I understood, they let
Oh,
a
yes.
few vendors that they know,
Back up and park to their booth or
Yep.
to their.
but
yeah.
not everybody. And it was very
I think there
sporadic.
was like a
Very
row.
fair,
going
okay.
in.
It's just different every year, so you never know. Anyway, good
We're down-
time.
We're down from where we used to be, say, 7, 8 years ago, aren't we?
Oh, gosh, yeah.
And I think too,
Yeah.
just like the consensus of the general public, when they come in and see that it feels like less people and it feels like there's these big gaps and there's these big holes and, oh, the show is doing so terrible. Honestly, for how many spots we had this year after dealing with COVID, it wasn't that bad.
No, we were very similar to our
Yes,
2019
right.
show.
I mean,
And-
that's been the discussion for the last 3
Right,
or 4
it
years.
wasn't that terrible, but I think it's just so much more noticeable when you have these big gaps and these big
Yeah.
holes. So by also tightening in the ropes, you make people feel like, wow, there's this and there's that, and they're consumed, by all of the, which a lot of them want to feel like that and
When-
not walk as far.
When I joined, I didn't realize how many of those people were renting from private vendor or from private homeowners. So like Kurt across the street, he used to have his whole, right, Kurt, Buck, is that his name?
Who? Kurt?
Not Kurt, is it Kurt?
Yeah, on the
Used
corner
to-
across from the
Yeah,
sign
here.
company, yeah.
He used to have the whole ditch, the whole
used
thing
to be
was lined,
full.
right? Then that terrible year where we had all that rain and then
Yeah.
everybody got stuck in his yard and the yard turned up and he's just like, I'm done, which is totally understandable. But it has nothing to do with our show, like it has nothing to do with the city. It
Right.
was a private homeowner's decision, but it makes
But it affects the show.
the show look
Mm.
Yeah.
less. Do you know what I mean? Even though all those vendors got put in different spots,
Yeah.
they were here, but they came to the city, or a few of them are from the city now. It's just hard. It's a really strange thing to explain to people because they don't understand. They think everything they see is us.
Yeah.
There's so many shoppers who don't
Yeah,
understand.
really, only the vendors would know that.
Yeah.
Really,
Yeah,
but I
and
mean, only the vendors know that they're on a private lot, not a part of the show.
100%, and the vendors who rent from us don't even understand that some of the vendors are renting
not,
from a
yeah.
private
Yeah.
person. And the shoppers certainly don't know it. So it's just a very odd thing to explain and to deal with. And it would be nice to have a meeting with the homeowners to see what we could do to help make that, I don't know. I know, it wouldn't work, but I'm just,
That's a conversation I don't want to be part of.
But I really do think though, if
I mean,
we,
from a community standpoint, yes.
I just
but
think
if we approach it, in a way that we're approaching the community and saying, hey, we're looking at this construction coming down the line. We want to make the show look good because we want to make the most money we can for the city. These are the things that Gold Rush is looking at doing by consolidating and whatever, and it could affect your area or where you typically have private people in your yard. We want to help. I don't know if
or just.
can you
let
give a
them-
discounted lot or can you be like, I don't know, but I feel like we can go to the homeowners with some kind of,
I just think even an FYI, like
Yeah,
here's
something,
here's
yeah.
what we're doing.
and just let them know, don't be like, just let it land
And
in their
this is
lap
where
and they
we-
didn't know that it was
Yes.
coming, because it's just rude.
Yeah,
And then
Well, I
this is
think
where
that's a
this,
fair-
and also
they need to
where-
be aware we're realigning, but
yeah.
yeah,
I think that's
But then also that we have
Start talking.
openings here or there, and then if they have people that can't go in their yard.
And it's not because
of
we're
whatever they can.
forcing like people to be a part of the show and not private ownership. It's just, it's better for the show. It's better for the community. It's better for the city. And honestly, the construction, you know, they maybe not are thinking about that with the show.
Oh,
You know, if
sure,
they
they're not.
tell 4 guys or 2 guys, whatever, they can be on their lot. And they're over here, and the most of those other vendors get relocated over to here.
But those
What if
lines are-
their foot traffic is bump, 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 then it's also gonna be
Those people
bad.
that are putting the lines on their private property, that's not city's contractor's job.
I know,
That's the homeowners scheduling that, so, yeah.
right, but
I think
then
it's
you,
just a
then
good-
you have the relationship between whoever the vendor is that's with the private owner going, "Well, you didn't tell us the whole show was gonna be over there. We got 5 people today." I mean, like, we don't want that to happen
I would
either.
suspect that some of those people that have the private vendors on their lot are probably paying for their sewer system. Just for the amount of money they make from it. They're gonna, you know, I don't know if they're gonna lose it or not, but I think that's gonna be an impact on them if that happens too, because a lot of them, they make some really good money. off
And
of
it's not that this has to
That's
be.
their business. That's-
Yeah,
that's what
and
they
it's
do.
not that the changes that we're talking about right now are not changes that need to be made permanently. These are changes that we're planning for 2022, which can be revisited. Like, if need be.
Mhm.
I'd like to,
I mean, it would be, if we redo it, we're probably gonna wanna keep it that way, because it's a lot of work to put it back the way that it was, but.
So you're talking almost like a contingency
Well,
plan.
we just don't, I don't know that we have to say, oh, this is what we're doing to the show and it's gonna be like forever. We're doing and talking about the things we're talking about because we are gonna have disruptions next year. We are gonna have construction. There are gonna be
Or 2 years.
issues, or 2 years, you know, and so it's not, you know, this is something that we're talking about because this is what needs to be done for the show right now. We can certainly revisit it. It doesn't have to be permanent.
Yeah.
If that's helpful to private owners, because I can understand where some of them would be, it would be hard.
I think it would be smart to just reach out to the community somehow, maybe even in one of our newsletters. You know, our spring or summer newsletter, and just let, you know, city newsletter and say, hey, this is.
Yeah, we can put something in the newsletter that come out, that we're thinking about doing this, or
Yeah.
whatever the appropriate time to put it in the newsletter or
Yeah.
something like that. So
That would be a good.
it's not
good
really
way.
a city function to put on the city, but we can talk about on the Gold Rush site. Or the Gold Rush input on the newsletter. All right. So Joanne is flying solo tonight.
So you want me to put that? You want me to put that in the notes?
It's like you reopen that.
Yes, you do. You know more than any of us. Stop
Yeah.
pretending.
So, I think it's gonna work out okay, and I care, I think it's all part of this transitioning, so I think that's all part of what we plan to do and everything, so. I do have one comment, we can talk later about the phone, the cell phone, that we need to get that. She's still getting calls, I guess, so we need to transfer that. So we'll talk about that later. All right, last week we had a discussion about how we're gonna realign. The event coordinator, I think is pretty well taken care of, it's the logistics coordinator, or breaking down of the logistics of the different items by committee and there.
So
One of the
this,
takeaways from the meeting was for Melissa to give us some thought, and
yeah,
what are your thoughts now?
which I did, and everyone who was here when we were at last month's meeting, I had the epiphany that if I were to do something like that, I realized that I would not be able to be on the committee, because that would be something that would be a paid position, and I have tossed and turned about this. I would like to remain on the committee. I would like to be, I am more than happy to be helpful and assist Joanne in a volunteer position with some of the things that are listed for logistics.
Mhm.
I'm more than happy to help with some of those things, absolutely. I just, being the treasurer and being involved with the volunteers and kind of having boots on the ground and running around during Gold Rush is really my jam. It's really what I enjoy. So I think I would like to remain on the committee, but I am more than happy to any of these things, Joanne, that are reasonable. I'm happy to do just in a volunteer capacity. I don't need to, yeah, I don't think I want to do the paid position. That's where I'm at.
All right. Well, we appreciate you staying on the committee as well, and I think we talked about, there's what, 16, 18 items here, so going forward, maybe if the committee's desire is to assign some of those aspects of the logistics to members, we could consider doing that for one thing. And I think to help Joanne, which is not really responsible for any of the logistics, but Melissa, if you want to be a volunteer or consider being a
Yeah,
volunteer,
I would definitely do some
you'd
of
be
these.
the
in a-
go-person
Yeah.
that, and you kind of keep track of all of us to make sure we're doing all these things too.
Yeah.
So
I have a couple of questions,
yeah,
comments though. The gathering permits, food permits, letters to food vendors. I think that should be part of, the event coordinator.
I agree,
duties,
I
But you
agree.
have it listed down here.
And insurance also.
Yeah, that was the other
Yeah.
one. And then the sentence to serve contact, that used to be with the volunteer coordinator. So I don't know why that's
Okay.
here,
We can do that.
and that should go back to them.
Okay.
That used to be with them.
And in the past, typically, that's just some background on that. Typically, in the past, that's been. Yeah, that was a letter to the, I was thinking it was Public Works, but it wasn't. It was Joanne contacting us to serve people. We have some contacts there, so.
What is the,
Is he gone, or did he just go to the bathroom?
He goes to the.
he goes to the
department.
fire department?
Oh, you went to the fire department.
Okay, because we're under now.
Lizzie. can-
No, is he?
Oh,
But we are gonna have to adjust.
Melanie,
I do,
Yeah.
think- I do think that we need to adjust that because
Yeah.
we,
it does seem like we're barely at 5 every time.
4,
Well-
5, 6. Yeah,
no,
what do we need for quorum?
Joanne doesn't count.
Oh, that's right.
But either way,
Sorry,
we
Joanne.
we've got to adjust that. I feel like there's gotta be press, maybe we need to do a priority, like Gold Rush is over a priority over fire.
Well, we talked, one idea is that Gold Rush on the first Thursday of the month was one idea. That's when we were talking about, we worked with the township about taking over,
Oh, and going upstairs.
going
Didn't
upstairs.
you guys have issues with Thursdays with council though? I thought there was
There
some kind
was
of
more
council
like-
issue with
It's
Thursdays.
just that's activities for everybody's children is Thursdays, and I already missed like everything.
What about Wednesdays? Because that's not activity night. Can we suggest doing the first Wednesday instead of the first Monday?
It's always been kind of a school night or,
But
Sure,
Wednesdays
I
is
mean,
a
it doesn't
non-activity night at the high schools. Like they
Yeah.
don't have games or practices on Wednesdays. So the people that have those kinds of commitments would be more available.
But are there city
It's not really
meetings
our
on
agenda,
Wednesday?
but we can talk about that in December.
I don't think there's any city meetings on Wednesdays.
Yeah, I don't think Wednesdays is a
I'll put
thing.
that on our thing, because we just need, and we discussed too much, and then we just spent how long updating
Yeah, I know.
Jim, and that's not, I don't wanna do that every month.
Yep.
That's
Yeah.
just not
You're right.
smart.
Yeah,
But that has happened, for years. The person that's on the fire department committee, yep, they always leave Gold Rush and
does the
go
fire
there.
department meet
That's our
twice?
council representative on the fire department. so-
They meet
I
twice a
did.
month, right? The fire department? Or did I get that wrong?
I don't know.
Oh,
but
maybe it's
it-
first responders. then. I should know, I do the calendar, so. hold on.
It doesn't, it's just, we need to figure something out, because we can't,
We need a priority.
we do, and we need a full committee. And we need people who know what they're
I
doing
agree.
when they show up at the show.
I think the only option is to change the night.
Can I add, if we're talking about the agenda for December, while you're talking about this, can I add to that, just getting some clarification or some language clarification about, assigned, council members being mandatory assigned to Gold Rush Committee that is not a city thing? Remember when I brought this? Remember when I was saying to you last month, like, how come if Gold Rush is not a city thing?
Oh, yeah.
How come city council members are mandatorily appointed to Gold Rush as a committee, as one of their committees?
Right now it's the bylaws.
Right.
Yeah.
So if we're adding things to the December, can you just add that so we can talk about that then?
Discuss bylaws, and I do,
Yes.
yeah, because we have talked about it before, like, would it be smart just to completely break off from the city and then,
And not that city council members can't be on this committee, but it would
Correct.
open up the
because it just leaves us.
pool.
But there's reasons, I mean,
Well,
that's been discussed years ago.
I know.
And there's reasons why the council has remained on
Well,
Gold Rush
from,
Committee.
and tell me if I'm wrong, but Carol explained it was because they couldn't get enough volunteers.
I'd like to, you're giving,
That's how she explained it to
I
me.
don't think that was it. I think part of it had to do with council, the city's involvement.
yeah, that's what I was gonna say,
Yeah.
like the involvement of participation in the city, and this is our biggest event.
Right. And that also, and so maybe it's one or two positions, but this is my thing. If Ryland wasn't here to like tell us about city stuff or what was going on in city meetings or you or whatever to add to like what we're dealing with construction, that'd be a huge problem. We can't have a council that doesn't, can't have a Gold Rush committee that doesn't have council and background information that might be pertinent to the show. So I think there
Discuss
have,
that in December.
yeah,
Yeah,
there has
well,
to be a
Keep going
couple.
We'll bring
Yeah.
that back in December, but that's, yeah, discussed bylaws.
Okay.
Can I ask about the radios for this logistics thing? What is it? What job is that? All I know is I made sure I collected all the radios every day and made sure I got radios out to everybody. If
Oh, I
that's
think
that,
they're-
I can always take
I
that.
think they're rented. I think it's because we rent them, right? We don't own those, do we?
What's
The
We rent them.
radios?
Yeah, we rent those.
Yeah,
Okay.
so I think it's just like arranging for the rental and the
Rental and-
payment and whatever.
I could always help with a couple of those
And the
things too.
Civil Air Patrol, that's always been the volunteer coordinator's job too.
Okay,
I don't know why that's on there either.
well, we can do that too.
Okay, yeah, let's move
We
that.
need you to tell us that.
So, how would be the best to
Well,
go through these if we want to?
well, first of all, one thing I would like to just mention is, do we want to consider, because our concern, and Joanne has experienced this, right, we talked about this last month, is that if you don't have a consistent person, somebody's relearning this every year. And that's not great, and that makes your job harder. It makes the chair's job harder.
Yep.
So should we consider finding another person for this paid position? I mean, Melissa isn't the
No, I
only
definitely,
option.
yeah, no, definitely. I think we should still be seeking someone as a logistics coordinator, but I do understand what Joanne is saying is a few things that are actually
Yes.
listed here
Yeah.
should be moved either back to Joanne or a couple of these back to volunteer, and it would shorten that list too.
And that
The
person,
sheriff contract might be with
Joanne,
Joanne.
don't you think?
the shared contract has
Or
always
no?
been,
It's just.
Someone just has to learn it, I guess. It doesn't matter.
That's always been Carol
The
and then the
I
chair.
feel like the chair
Yeah.
always do.
Yeah.
But that's what I mean is that, yes, some of these are already, like, maybe even go through and say who takes care of these currently. And
See
just,
with the chairs switching,
right,
every year, every 2 years, you
right.
have to-
That's,
and
that's
then
again
it
why
fall-
it would
fell
be
on
better.
Carol.
But not
like,
only does
hey.
the chair change, the committee change, I mean, it's
Exactly.
all changing.
That's
So
why-
how do we have, I mean, just because, so say it really should be, Joanne should be overseeing it. It could be Joanne's position that changes next year for unknown circumstances, and then you're in the same issue. It's the same problem.
But at least you would have a job description and, you know what I mean? And there would be you would have,
So there's a job description that needs to be changed. Based on
Right.
what we're doing here tonight.
right,
And we should make a.
But if we have all
put
these
that on the
things-
December agenda too.
Yeah, it'd be nice to have the list of what each one does, each parts of these, how it works and a description. That'd be great. Cause then,
And if we have them all listed, it'd be nice to be able, if the committee was gonna just volunteer, we could break them apart to say, okay, the first 4, Melissa's gonna do, the next 4, Dana's gonna do,
I think it's reasonable that other committee members help with these things.
Right.
I understand the concern.
the one thing that I think committee member responsibility, well, the one thing I think a logistics coordinator, and we talked about this, but that website should be a paid,
Added,
yeah.
Yeah.
Which one?
Instead of being our website shouldn't be somebody that is, A
Random, that should be a
committee member, that should be
logistics
a
person or the
paid.
director. I agree, totally.
I don't even see that on here.
It's
at the
not.
bottom.
So.
Well, it's not under logistics, it's under something else.
Oh, it's under the committee member responsibilities.
Right, and I just, like I
Social
said,
marketing.
when we discussed it last week, I'm like, the things that I do now, I need it broken up. You know what I mean? And so I need someone else to do some of it.
Especially because it's WordPress.
Well, I mean, but it's just all because.
It's a lot of stuff. It's a lot of stuff that
It's a
you've got
lot
to
of,
be putting into, because you've put in a lot of, between the marketing and the Facebook page and the website,
right.
you know, you've got a lot of things that you're,
And
constantly putting into.
I am doing it for free. None of that stuff used to be done for free. We paid someone to do all that.
Mhm.
It's now I'm doing it for free and I'm fine doing it for free, but not everybody would be, and probably we shouldn't operate that way. That's not a way a nonprofit, I mean, generally, you pay your nonprofit coordinator to take care of those things, to take care of marketing and advertising and so, you know what I mean, social media, all those things are part of the job description. So I feel like we have to move in that direction. And that's,
But with that, then, that social marketing, you know, it'd be nice if like the advertising was promotion,
with that.
advertising, periodicals, TV, if that fell into that.
Your marketing and communications coordinator role, and then they would be able to do social stuff, the website, the print ads, the communications to the local TV people and the newspapers.
I think that almost needs to be like a third kind of coordinator thing.
yeah, I agree with that. Yeah.
And you did mention this, Dana, at the last one, that social marketing and the website and the app, print, that should all be one person, honestly.
and it is now.
Right. We know.
It is one person.
But it is a lot of work, and so.
But it should be tied into like the print, like the other stuff too, like Carol was, you know, for years.
Mhm.
The social media marketing is basically it's new since I came on board. And that's why it just has grown and that's fine, that's good. I'm glad we did that. But I think now we have to take it in a different, you know what I mean, like take it more seriously as part of the job of the people who.
I sort of struggled the first year on the committee because I didn't know everything that happened and I didn't know what to ask about what I could
Yeah.
help with. And like looking at this, like,
Yeah.
you know, I could have done the ice or whatever, you know?
Mhm.
And if we had like all of these like line items laid out in terms of like, you know, January, this starts and then February you do this for, you know, either do it month by month or do it task by task. It's almost as though we should have a guidebook so that we could say, here's
we
the
have.
ice, you do that.
In the past, we did have a task list
There's a
and it was
setup here.
broke out line by line.
See, that would make it a lot easier
I
to
know.
assign to committee members
Yeah,
every year,
and then
even if they
and that's what
change.
We did. We had that task list and it was by month and this is what needs to be done. And it's like, okay, who's gonna do it? And
Can
then
we
just
beg
assigned
Carol
it
to
to
find that
folks.
list?
It's gotta be on the computer somewhere. Don't you have it?
Yeah,
somewhere?
we sent it out in the spring sometime, we sent it out. We were asking for
Well, then,
tasks.
you know, everybody
So you
has their
have-
own talents and their things that they can bring to it and that, you know,
Right.
your strengths and your weaknesses. And so it's nice because if you see something, you know, already everyone's like, ooh, well, I can maybe do this or I can do that, or, you know, so that's where if you have that kind of laid out nicely, we can kind of plug ourselves in and then the stuff that isn't grabbed, then we start assigning.
So maybe we can
that
go through it and either in December, well, send it out, like, so everybody has it for the December meeting.
So can we figure out, can you see if you can try to locate the previous existing task list and,
Oh, yeah, I've got it. I sent it
yeah,
out.
have,
Sometime
review
last
it
spring,
or,
I sent it out, but I can't-
so Joanne
That way
can,
then, we can start January. We can
Yeah,
go
start
through it in
December,
December.
and
and
then
then
know what we're doing
January.
in January.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
So
I don't
could
have to
we
go to-
offer a suggestion here? I could, myself and Joanne and Carol could sit down and go through this list of items and we've mentioned a couple already that goes back to either Joanne or the volunteer coordinator, but just identify 3 or 4 categories. And I think there'd be like 4 or 5 groupings of maybe realign them that kind of fit with each other. And then have people members identify which group they would like to take of contacts and take care of those. And then we still have Melissa as a volunteer, as a kind of a coordinator to work with all the logistics people, just to make sure they're doing what they're supposed to be doing. When we look at these 4 items, or for example, 4 items, the top 4, we look at that group and we could, because we do have templates of letters that have been sent to all these people. So it's just a matter of contacting those people via either a telephone call, but more importantly, just a letter, and then following up with a letter, and you can look at the task list that we have. And for the most part, it identifies when a lot of those things are being done. It's mostly in that
Right.
May, June, July timeframe too,
Yeah.
so.
But it's in preparations, because it starts like January, February, you know, it starts back then as far as who needs contact and when. And like say, the form letters, whatever, that have been previously sent, I could send that to whoever the person is. And,
Starting in January.
yeah.
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 When did
January.
you, this last show, when did you really start amping up like social media and?
Well, we
For
started
advertising.
paying in April,
Yeah.
for ads, and then that was when I was like every other day, or, you know what I mean? So like right now I'm once a week, and it'll go kind of slow through the holiday, or well, I'll probably get close to the holidays in the end. And then in a couple days a week in January, and then kind of just get people.
So
So it's mostly not until spring.
Yeah, when the contracts.
So I have a question for you. I want to know, what do you want to do? What do you want left on your plate? I know you said, and you've done the 5K. You've said it would be great if somebody else would do it. But you're doing the ads, you're doing social media, you're doing the website, you're doing what do you have time for? What does the Gold Rush look like to you? What do you want to be doing? You want to be doing more of a support role and not so much being the mastermind?
You're so good at it.
Like, because you're mastering
She's
a lot
so
of these
good,
things.
you're
I
so
just
good
wanna
at
make-
social media
Yeah,
though.
but I
You
just wanna make sure you're
rock
getting
it
the
so.
help
I
that,
think I
that
do,
you
but-
need, and what do you really want on your plate?
What
with
I
this?
think would be really great is to have I'd love to get rid of the 5K, to transition that to somebody else, outside of the committee. I don't think it should be, I think we should find a community volunteer outside the committee, because being on the committee that day and doing the 5K is really hard. And so I'd love that to go away to somebody else, and I would help with it. Like I could be like the committee person that helps, and especially that first year.
I wonder if Bo and Bridget Hannenberger would do it, since their daughter ran it.
She's a cross-country runner at Century,
Ah,
yeah.
right.
I know there's a ton of people in this community who are running. I mean, the funny thing is, I'm not a runner. I really, really hate running. And so I don't go to races. I don't participate, you know what I mean? And so there are people who have so much experience that could bring so much to it. That maybe we just have to reach out and say, hey, we're looking for a volunteer 5K coordinator to work with the committee this year. Maybe we have to do that. I would love to get rid of that. I would love to get rid of the website. Hate it.
But do you mind, I mean, because you are so good at the
If you
social
show me the
media.
website, I can help. If you want me to
I
help,
was
just show
gonna
it to
say,
me. I
yeah,
know we're.
I would also help with the website. I just feel like you're so good at the social media, and that person really has to be like the print advertising and the whatever person.
That's true. I do agree that should probably be the same. And Carol and I we together over the last few years, anytime we actually put anything out in print or work with
The postcards are beautiful, the sign, are you thinking the sign thing, or are you thinking the post bulletin, or are you thinking the shopper,
something, and yeah,
the commerce, chamber commerce?
we have worked together on all that. So that is something that I would be happy with continuing to do. But the thing is, you guys, we have Kristen, and I don't know where she is, but that girl, she is one of those people who knows about social media way more
She's
than me.
massively
She knows
creative.
a-
She is an artist,
really?
and she's massively creative. She used to
is.
do
And so-
all of the Trader Joe's
Yeah,
chalkboards and
well,
windows
like
and.
our signage, our
Yeah.
signage.
Oh, yeah,
So
she did all the.
Mhm.
I would love to have another creative person to do because there's stuff I'm not taking advantage of, like the stories, and reels. I don't even know what that is. because I'm 44 and I don't know.
I
what
just love all the,
She's
are.
really good about that stuff. My only, I can't speak for her. I just don't know what kind of time, like, what
Right.
kind of time she has to invest.
Right.
She is the person you want to talk to
I
if you
know.
can get her on your side.
Could also put out a targeted call for volunteers too, like, we need someone who's really great at web development and to manage the website. And we need someone who knows their social media marketing chops and
And I like Christine's idea, like Christine would be really good with the website too, and she and I kind of co-coordinated with all the volunteer stuff last year. But now that we've got all that like streamlined and we know what we're doing, like it's gonna
Hopefully.
take, well,
Yeah,
but
but-
there, it won't take nearly as much time next year as we had to. put
well, we
into
had
it
such
this
a
year.
great, a better understanding too, everything that we've learned from all of you,
So I
and then
think,
being there.
And the
the
website's
website-
actually not that, because you don't
You don't
change
have to
much.
change
You
it,
don't, you just have to
right? Like,
update stuff.
You
and-
update it once
yeah.
a year,
And I,
update pictures when they, whatever. So
yeah,
it's not that big a deal. I just don't like it.
Yeah.
I'm just a baby about it. I
if
don't
Christine
know.
wants to do it, I volunteer for that.
okay, yeah, well, I'm fine, because I already worked with really, really slow WordPress for some other websites,
It
so
might
if it's a
be-
little faster than
I
the
don't know.
slowest
Let's-
website I
okay.
have, then
So
I'm
we'll
fine.
get together and. Okay. So yeah, I'd be happy to stay and do that and then, so I could take on that part of, you know, this logistics part. You know, like any of that, that's fine. And I'd be happy to do the other and work with. Because like it says, Joanne, it says you do not interact with advertising, marketing, social media. I don't know why.
I think you would have some,
You know
I
how
think
it
you would
says
have
on the-
say on it, you're just not responsible for it.
Right.
We would have to coordinate to get, like Carol and I always coordinated all that together.
Yep.
And I don't know anything. That's the difference too, like all the periodicals and TV and paper and radio done in the past.
Oh,
Yeah, that's,
I'm getting tons of emails on it and it's like, I
Oh,
have no
well-
idea what to do. And then Carol will say, but just pay the bill. Okay, fine, just pay. And I know how to write a check and pay the bill.
but like lots of those too, they'll fish. They're fishing for,
I know, that's why I don't pay anything and I don't do anything with it until I
Yeah.
talk to her, so.
there's been a lot of that.
Well, I was seeing a lot in this list too, where you, like you said, it's rental of, you know, there
Right.
might be like 4 things that we just do rental stuff, and that's the person handles the rentals.
Mm-hmm.
You
Okay.
know, like the golf carts and whatever,
Call to.
you know what I mean, just like looking at trying to group the tasks, it might be.
And like VFW, like meal tickets, that could go with the first responder ATM stuff and other stuff that has to do with the fire department.
Mhm.
Those can be gone together. Traffic control could definitely go with, sentence to serve and that sort of, I mean, yeah,
Yeah,
there's
that can go
definitely
with
some
it.
groupings that we could do.
Mhm.
And civil air, traffic control and,
On Civil Air, that's part of the volunteer committee.
oh, that's right, I did already write that down.
Nobody's gonna want the et cetera, it's just too general. Everything else.
Everything Uh-huh.
there's the mind reader.
No, I think it's good though. I think it's good to regroup it and then we'll all learn about what all of these things are. And I think that that'll help out a lot too. Just help us grow and learn and work together.
Agreed.
Okay, so do you think for now then, we should split these tasks and not look for a logistics coordinator? Is that where we've landed?
Or are we gonna group them and then see if we can figure out a way that we do have enough people to take it?
So
And then if not, then a logistics coordinator? I mean, which way?
So try to do some groupings, come back in December, approve or not approve the groupings. But I do think we need to add, like, I think you're right, we do need to talk, it needs to be separate, the 5K thing,
Yeah,
so.
Well, I can maybe find some volunteers.
See what you can
Look,
come up
I'll
with,
come up-
if there's any interest.
Yeah.
So the winter newsletter is coming out in December. So, and
Yeah.
in the past, I've usually just written up an input or article for Gold Rush. So do you want to put together like 2 paragraphs, one for a 5K,
Mhm.
and another one for social marketing? Is that what we're
and then
saying?
put the logistics
I'll
coordinator.
continue to do the social media.
Okay.
As long as I can get rid of
The
a couple of
website.
the other
Yeah.
things, I'm
Okay.
happy
If
to,
Christine
yeah.
did the website and someone else took over the 5K,
Yeah,
that's why I wanted to know.
Cause you're rocking
Yeah.
it on the
What kind of
Facebook.
and
and everything,
where
right?
do you wanna be?
and if Kristen, and if I could get someone, you know what I mean, like
Yeah.
just some other, because
Mhm.
the thing is, it's always fun, like, we didn't get any this time, but live was really popular. If we did live videos in the past, we did a few live videos. And we've done some of that during the show, and it's been really popular. Like Kristen's husband did one and then you know what I mean, but it wasn't
Yeah,
on
she
the.
had done one, but I don't know or I think she just did a video. I don't think she did a live. Yeah.
Sure, so those are the kinds of things that if you have, you know, at least a couple of you, that's.
Yeah.
So maybe I'll talk to her and see if she would. And then she could probably teach me some things.
You know, does the newsletter still get mailed out or is it getting emailed out?
The what? The
Mhm.
newsletter is getting mailed.
I've never gotten one actually.
Well,
so.
The newsletter?
message, City
Or
Hall.
email.
Yeah, it goes to 1,400 people in the township. And
Yeah.
But they sent out something where you had to respond to tell them that you still wanted to get it via email or paper copy.
No, now they're doing it, so I just confirmed, they're doing it
Oh.
for the whole
Period.
city, for everyone.
Okay.
Yeah, cause I.
Everyone's just getting a mail because.
Oh.
in
When
the-
when I put the volunteer
It's-
stuff in, I'd asked Renee if I could I hadn't gotten it via email. She said, no, we're mailing them out, but I still hadn't gotten any of them. So I came and picked one up here on the bench, but I didn't get it at home. So that's why I just was wondering.
So they use the mail distribution list from the post office. It isn't even like a
Yeah.
city thing. It's like whoever's in the mailing distribution for Orinoco is getting it,
Yeah.
and township too.
It's like 1,400 people addresses. So, yeah.
And we're just gonna keep doing that instead of before, you know, like how you had to respond and they were gonna
Right.
pick it. It was like they said it was way too
Yeah.
much work. And more
But
expensive,
you're
actually
saying you
more
never
expensive.
got the print copy?
No, I haven't.
Better talk to the post office.
Well,
Well,
who knows?
wait till, maybe.
Do
it
you ever
just-
get that resident of blah, blah, blah mail?
Yeah, I get Pine Island's newsletter.
Yeah.
I get that one. And I get my water bills, no problem.
Well, you're on a list.
My people, no, but I have never gotten, I got the Pine Island and then I've got the, whatever else it is that's around here.
Well, if you would like to
Yeah,
have
Hank's
something,
Hardware
you need
sends
to-
me
you
stuff.
need to do this week. That'd be great. It was due today and I haven't started it yet, so.
Okay.
Okay, that'd be great.
So this, just to do action item, you want us to all look at, bring back,
Well, I meet with Carol on Wednesday. I have an appointment to meet with her. And so I will ask for
You guys
more
wanna try to
details.
consolidate like 2 or 3
Yeah, and
tasks, try to
detail
break them up.
of
Okay.
what is expected.
What I
of that
wrote down,
task.
you said civil air patrol goes back to volunteer committee. Sentence to serve goes back to volunteer committee.
Yes.
Those are the 2 notes I have for sure leaving.
Yep.
And then I wrote down, sheriff contract really should be you. Insurance really should be you, and gathering permits and food permits should be you.
Right,
Okay,
yep. And then I circled promotion, advertising,
that's
periodicals.
gonna be Dana
Oh, that one's Dana?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's gonna stick
and
with
social media.
marketing.
Yep,
So, okay, so those 2 go together.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that
yeah,
can
we
come
will
off.
just coordinate all that together then, Joanne,
Okay.
and then we'll find out
Okay.
when it all needs to go out and all that stuff.
and hopefully website will be Christine then. It'll be separate of marketing. It'll just be website maintenance, would just be Christine.
And then,
Donate her, told her when,
Right.
which is not here.
She volunteered herself.
Oh, I did.
Okay.
no, just because I've done the websites that are built off of the same thing before. And then if we ever want to have time or if we want to revisit the vendor Facebook stuff, because I do know a couple vendors
Yes.
said they would love to be able to like see a map or, look at their spot number and see a map and get some information. And they said they didn't have anywhere to go to find any of it. So,
we had a great idea, it just never
Yeah,
came to fruition.
and it's fine and it's sitting there and it's built and it's ready to go. So I'm happy to work with that too. That way I can help that way with whatever you want.
And just a quick note underneath that, now that we're leaving logistics, or are we leaving logistics?
I just go back one time, and which one was gonna go to the volunteer coordinator?
Civil air and
Sentence to
sentence to serve.
Just those two, okay.
Yeah.
And the insurance,
Joanne,
that's to Joanne,
Since
okay.
it's-
and then
uh,
sheriff contract to Joanne.
okay.
And then permits,
Yes,
maybe.
food and gathering permits,
That's good
Joanne.
because it's all
Yes.
contracts and permits.
Right.
So that
Right.
seems, that seems all, you know,
That's correct.
that groups nicely together.
Mhm. And insurance.
Okay, good, that's a good start.
It is.
Yeah,
All right,
So car show, Corey and I are fine to do that again next year.
oh, okay,
That's fine. Volunteer coordinator, I'm fine to do that. If Christine wants to still help me, that's
yeah,
great. We can still do that. And I'm
That's what I
fine with,
figured.
vendor, Sunday vendor reception. I can still do that. I did that this year. That was pretty easy.
Where is this? Where are you looking at right now?
very well.
Right under community member.
Oh,
reception.
God.
Right
I'm
under-
sorry. I was on the agenda.
I was like, I did like 3 of the things that are on there, so I just thought it
Okay.
would be quick to just say, we'll still do those.
yeah. And then Corey's probably still car show.
Yes.
So the
Corey
only
will-
thing we really haven't resolved is the 5K.
Yep. We just
Right.
need
That's the
the
open one right now.
Yep.
Mhm.
Dana's gonna put out
feelers.
feelers for that. So, yeah.
Newsletter.
Yep, we'll do that with the newsletter and I'll just on the citizens page and I don't know, I feel like I could probably just wrangle someone into doing it.
By the way, if you want me to put something out through the volunteer Gmail, I've got everyone's contacts that I built.
That's a great idea.
And you just stick it out there
Yeah.
also, if you
Okay.
want.
I'll make
I
the-
haven't built everything, but on the Sign Up Genius, I've got everybody's email and
I'll make
most of the contacts are
blurb.
built.
It'll be I'll get this, try to make the same blurb that goes to in
Yeah.
the newsletter and then we can put it out to a whole bunch of different places. That's perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, so I might have that
Okay.
little extra place
Thank
too.
you. Alright.
Advertising budget for 2022.
Yeah,
Give me comments or any of that, or?
yes, so I did a lot of, I pulled a bunch of the stats from our Facebook advertising. Is that where we're at?
Mhm.
Yeah, so we spent a total of, $700 on Facebook advertising. 500 was for the Gold Rush event, and that was from the 13th of April till August 19th. And I'll put all this in the minutes, but so that reached a total of and that means the person who saw our ad once, at least once, 54,000 people,
Was the reach?
right?
Wow.
Impressions, which is the number of times your ads were on a screen, which was 123,500.
There's at least one of those for each.
Frequency, which is the average number of times each person saw your ad, was 2.2. And then the event responses we got as a result of this ad was 2,300, making our event response cost 22 cents per response. So it seems like
Worth it.
that was a good.
Yeah.
You know,
And-
if they were distributed, like if the result, like, did we get like 1,200 people in April that said yes, and then the rest of the 1,200 trickled in, or?
I could probably look that up. I just wrote down the basics this time.
I would think about shifting the budget and maybe spending it for like 6 weeks before the event, rather than
Oh, yeah.
doing it for such a long run up next time.
Okay. So,
Because I think that it reaches possible vendors and customers.
that's the thing.
So
And
that's why we do
vendors
it
start,
early.
and so that's the reason, that's the
why we did it
reason we
earlier.
do it early is because contracts are due, they go out the end of March. And so that's why we did it in April.
So can we just do a separate boost then, like in June, July? Is that what you're saying? Like July-ish?
See,
Do
this is
like an
where- these are the
additional
things
boost?
these are where I don't know. I need help with this kind of stuff because I don't know what makes the most sense and how do.
Are you
How to
thinking
use
like
it
for
more-
not so much for vendors, but for visitors, you mean?
I
Right.
doubt that we're getting that many vendors through Facebook,
Correct.
like to say, oh yeah, I'll sign up.
We're
to
more or less
do my event."
advertising the show, like come here and spend money.
Okay. So 6 weeks, you think?
because you're gonna get the best results the first 2 weeks that the campaign's live. And with summer being summer, people don't know, I mean, I never know what I'm lucky if I wear clean pants in the morning, but that's just me.
Just saying.
Yep.
Yeah, but you have little kids, so when you're an older kid, your summer is scheduled
Yeah.
by December.
Right, no, that's the other part. There's either you fly by the seat of your pants and look at what's coming up the next weekend, or you are
Everything's done.
programmed.
Yeah.
Your summer is programmed.
So, okay, that's a good.
All pants.
Yeah.
So then what we did, so we did do that for the 5K.
Uh-huh.
We did July. So we spent $200 only. We did July
Yeah.
13th to August 21st. And we reached 13,800, almost 14,000 people. The impressions were 55,000. The frequency was more. It was 4. So that 4 people saw it 4 times. The event response was 419. And then, so the cost of our per event response was 48 cents. So we spent less, but ran it much shorter. I don't know if that was worth, I don't know if it was
How do
worth it
you-
for the 5K, honestly, I don't know,
I think it's confusing because you got 2 messages running for Gold Rush then. You've got the message for come visit Gold Rush. You've got the second message for the 5K.
well,
And those can
yeah,
be in you can have, they could be in conflict with one another, it could be confusing. If you're a person who's not really familiar and sees both of those. So I think if you consolidate on one message of come visit Gold Rush, you're gonna have a better response. If you instead to get people to come to the 5K, I would use the citizens page because that gets a really good reach. And then,
Or somehow
Or-
incorporate in the Gold Rush event postings, the 5K and the car show, instead of have only do the postings in the 5K or only do the postings in the car show. Include those, and that actually would go to address some of that feedback that we got. The vendors that were here going, what is happening? Oh my God, there's a car show. Cool or not cool. You know, if they would have seen it maybe in the actual, just the main Gold Rush thing, they maybe also would have told some people or would have had somebody to cover their booth so they could go to
so
the car show.
we have a very different committee than we did when I joined and we started doing these things. The rule was I couldn't post that stuff, basically.
That's dumb.
It had to be its own thing. They had to be their own thing.
Oh.
So I just kind of kept doing that. So I've made these events and that's where I post it.
Yeah, that's
Ins-
right. Yeah.
Instead of posting it on the main page, because they wanted to make sure it was kept the show.
So do we
So-
all agree that the car show and the 5K and those things they are beneficial to our show? We should be not only
Yeah, I
just
think it
marketing them
is.
to the public, but also to the vendors?
I think it gets, I think there's ways to make what you're suggesting happen. But at the same time, this is what Carol talked about last time too somewhat, is that if we want to make it, and maybe it doesn't indicate that we're doing that, but if we do start, also she was, wonder if this was turning into a community event versus an antique show. But, the car show and 5K don't really, I think those are nice touches to add. But my personal opinion, I think they can be included. But if we go beyond those 2 things that we're doing right now, that may be, we don't want to take away from our vendors not coming here either. Because,
Right, if all of a
well, all of
sudden,
a sudden now they're doing car shows, what are they gonna do next?
right,
20 bounce houses or something like that. So-
or street dance and this and that and.
Yeah, so we're losing our antique people, so, but
But we still put the
it could
live
be some
music.
in the advertising, I guess, but we don't want to put major emphasis in that. At least on the postings, I guess, but it's my opinion, but.
And
It's
the
two different crowds that we're dealing with.
right, but so I get where Carol's coming from when she's like, if we don't have vendors, we don't have a show. But on the opposite side, if we don't have people that come, we don't have a show either. And I think that trying to appeal to the community and the younger crowd and the families and I think you have to add in some, like the 5K and like the music at the fire hall was definitely a draw. People came on, Saturday afternoon or whatever, because they, there was a band or there was the car show. Or if that is something that's helpful to get people down here and buy food or, go to a couple booths and then they go to the car,
Well, and I think
I think it's
the
both. I
antique-
think it's the vendors, but I think it's also the people
But I
that
think,
come.
I think the antique vendors that were concerned about the 5K and the car show, they've experienced it now. So if they're coming back, they know
No.
Mm-hmm. that it happens.
Yeah, I don't think anybody's saying we discontinue any of that. It's just a matter of what,
How to share it best.
how to share it, but at the same time,
What,
we
so,
really want to expand it beyond what we have right today.
So you're doing the gold rush, your advertising for the gold rush is heavy. And then the 5K and the car show is smaller, right,
Mhm.
already?
so there wasn't any advertising for the car show. So I have, we have our Gold Rush Facebook page and that's just a page. And then I create an event each year for
Yeah,
the show,
Mhm.
a separate one for the 5K and a separate one for the car show. So we have the page and then 3 events each year.
But you shared the car show event and the 5K event on the actual Gold Rush page a few times, did you not?
Yes.
when you create it, it shares it, yeah.
Yeah, a few times and then right, but it is there, but it's not like that's where I post a ton of
Having
stuff.
the events makes sense because then people will be able to find them in events.
Yep.
And then posting
You click
about
on
the
going.
events, I would put on the main page.
Right, which
Yeah.
is what. I do.
Yeah, you're already
Right,
doing
right,
that.
right. Yeah, I can keep doing that. And then
But then not advertise for the 5K at all.
that was my suggestion. My suggestion was from a paid advertising perspective. Do 1 6 to 8 week campaign, spend all your money in the 6 to 8 weeks. I would go shorter, but like 6 weeks, but keep the message consistent about come to Orinoco Gold Rush, August 22nd through 24th or whatever.
In the 5K message.
I would just have that one message. I would not
Oh,
I wouldn't promote the 5K or the car show with paid ads because then you're gonna have it's like
more of a fair, not of a, yeah.
instead of
You're,
no, then it's just a confusing message. It's like having 3 people talking to you at once with different things. You can't pay attention to any one of the things those 3 people are saying. Then nothing gets in through you into your head.
so do you think that do you think that 500 in that 6 weeks would be sufficient? Okay.
Would
In
be
the 6
sufficient from the
weeks,
standpoint, it
6
tends
to
to be a
8.
smaller, the 5K and the car show is just within a 20-mile area versus
True.
5K is nationwide.
True, yeah.
We're talking about 100 people for the 5K and
Yeah.
maybe 200
Right,
or
right, right.
300 for the car show, so it's really 2
Yeah,
different buckets.
That makes
Yep.
sense. Okay, that's very helpful. Thank you, Lizzie.
Yeah, I would just do word of mouth for car show and 5K rather
Agree.
than paying to promote them.
Yeah,
That makes more
And
sense.
then, you can join local car groups on Facebook and post, you can
And
have
share
like
them there.
oh,
this is
that's
where
good.
Kristen could come into play. She can design a piece of creative about the Orinoco Gold Rush car show. She could design the piece of creative and then you can just use those little pictures or whatever, digital assets to say, hey, we've got this car show coming up or running community, we've got the 5K coming up or.
Yeah, and I've done all that. I just use our minor and whatever, what's on our shirt.
Yep.
And then I created postcards. I don't know, maybe those aren't even necessary, but they're like $50 for a whole bunch of them. So it's like.
And they
Those
look-
are great.
they look
You
so
can
great,
leave them
though.
places.
And then, yeah, I like leaving
I
it.
liked those because
Yeah.
it was great to,
But that is one thing I am struggling to do. Well, I'll get to that later, but what I'm figuring out as I do this 5K stuff. But, okay, that's really helpful. So then next year for budget for Facebook advertising, then we could probably just stick to that $500.
Or you said it was 700, right?
Yeah, but that was with the
Oh, yeah,
5K.
in addition.
Yeah. And then, basically,
Hey, do we have a Twitter account, by the way?
no, because that's,
I don't live in Twitter. I can't.
when I talk, like, we have a Pinterest one, which I haven't done in a very long time. because
I was just wondering how
No,
many
because
other
when I,
things we were on.
when I talked about Twitter, when I discussed it with people, that's like a now thing, like a minute, and nobody's doing that. Like,
Yeah.
who's gonna sit there and do that?
Do we have a person who reaches out to the local news stations and stuff ahead of time?
Yeah, either I've called out or Carol, slash Joanne will call out. Just matter of a phone call or email.
Cause they publish in like not only the news stations are good, then the print papers will publish calendars and stuff of events coming up and.
I always put it in the Rochester it's always in the community calendar for Rochester Now. Is it Rochester Now? Discover Rochester? You know what I'm talking about? It's in that every year. All of our events are always in there.
And now we are,
That's a free community
Free
calendar.
thing, yeah.
yeah, and now we're members of both Rochester and
Yeah.
Pine Island Chamber too, so we
Yeah.
should make sure that we're getting on their.
Yeah,
On their
we are.
list.
Yeah, we're in their newsletter every month, and I always send an update for our newsletter every month, Pine Island. I don't know Rochester we've done with them, but.
Cool,
Okay.
that's cool.
So yeah, so a budget. So one of the things, Jen, and well, Alyssa and Melissa, is that I asked, should the person that's doing the 5K and the advertising, would it just be easier to have a working budget every year to go by?
A
You know what I
line
mean?
item,
So
yeah.
then this is so that we don't have to bring it back every month. Can I ever purchase these shirts? Can you approve it? Can we just have a working budget?
Usually you have a budget line,
Right.
and then if whatever you're doing goes above that, that's when you come for approval.
So I would like to consider that for this next year. Now, if I'm not doing the 5K, I would still help the next person do it and figure that out. But is that something we could consider?
You definitely
That person
already
would
have
just send
those
the
numbers.
Request to the treasurer to write checks out then, or they would not be given checks to write out.
Correct, it'd be just, or reimbursed, like I just, sometimes I pay for it and get
Yeah,
reimbursed.
I mean, you would report your expenditures of what you've gotten and where you've ordered and how many and
Right.
stuff like that, but you wouldn't ask for an approval of the payment of that unless it went above your budget line.
Right.
If that makes sense. That
Right.
way we're
Like,
not trying to
if
make a
it-
decision.
If it was a design thing, like
Yeah.
the shirt, whatever preference, but like this year, it was like, whatever color you have.
I know.
Take 'em. Like, it might be that way for a while longer, I don't know. But that's how I think it would be easier to operate and just be able to get stuff done instead of having to wait month to month to do it.
Mhm.
So,
So that's like a $2,000-3,000 budget, isn't it?
yeah, about
With the
3,000.
shirts and everything.
So what I broke down today, it would be about, for shirts for like 5K. So if we included for the 5K total with advertising,
Mhm.
whoever does the 5K would be about $3,000.
And shirts, that includes everything.
That includes shirts, 5K shirts, not like
5K
Yeah.
shirts
Yeah.
and Anderson and advertising.
everything.
Okay.
So that'd be, I thought $3,000 would be a safe,
The race
And-
people and,
for the 5K.
And we,
but you also have
I
have
was just gonna say-
donations lines too that might come in.
Oh, yeah, I mean, we'll
So-
get,
You've got like, so your
And-
operating costs will be different, but you have a budget for spending and then you have a budget for income.
and there is a balance of almost $2,000 or around $2,000 still sitting in 5K for next year for use. Right now.
Is that 2,000, where are you?
2,600.
So escrow deposit minus escrow payment.
Oh, gotcha.
Oh, wait.
So you're gonna come in at 2,300 bucks maybe.
Yeah, I see.
You go escrow deposit minus payment. Yeah, it's gonna be around 2,300 is probably the balance in that 5K account.
What's that 5K register?
That's where it is. Sorry, 2896. It's right there. Sorry, it's broken down right below.
so I don't know, if that is something that we don't have to approve it now, but I just thought maybe as we go into January and start the year. Because
It's a good
the
idea.
nice thing too is that in January, that's usually when they send out, hey, it's time to think about, they start, like Joanne was saying, like planning for the event in January. Yeah, that's when I start planning for the 5K.
Yeah.
And so it makes
Good,
sense.
secure
And that's
the-
just a tiny portion of our show, you know what I mean? Like, So it makes sense to do that stuff in January, and I think having that to work with would just free up
Yep.
our time as a committee and the decision,
Do you want to vote
So,
on that, or you want to
what
push
does-
that till December?
Why don't we do that in January? Is that plenty of time to bring that back for, because then we'll know where our operations budget's gonna be with the American Rescue Plan money, and we'll be in a better position to make some good decisions.
Sure.
All right, excellent discussion. So the third item was review operations budget, but let's talk about that with the donations here in a few minutes. Next item is a lot statistics spender account. Roll that in with our consolidation.
Yeah, I think we
Yeah.
kind of went over that.
Okay. Annual meeting, November is our annual meeting, so right now I'm the chairperson, Lori.
So this is our
Melissa, and
annual meeting?
Dana.
this is our
This
annual.
is our annual meeting,
Okay,
yeah.
then when I was doing the secretary or whatever, the minutes and the agenda had to be labeled, annual meeting.
Oh, thank you. I was wondering that.
Say it again.
If this is our annual meeting, when I was a secretary for.
Oh, I
Flourish,
see. I
It
add
had
that
to be
the-
labeled, annual meeting on the minutes and the agenda.
Thank you.
So sorry for interrupting.
I'll add that to the
No, that's good.
That's why you're
agenda.
here.
Or I'll update this.
And Dana, you already added that we need to add you in as secretary.
So, but this is when we just vote on who's gonna stay, and since Lori's not here, should we make her stay as vice chair?
Yeah, that's fine.
Yes.
I second that motion. Lori. If you're listening.
Well, I would hope, I guess, I should have asked. I
Your
should
ears are
big
burning.
assumption. I thought she'd be here tonight, so.
What are your
I will
thoughts
put-
about staying as chair? I feel like you
Anybody
wanted,
else want to do it?
I figured you, I thought you wanted to, I feel like last year you were like, I'll do it this year.
Lizzie's been very quiet, so.
Well, I really,
Lizzie's moving to
Tara
Texas.
left. We only get one person to move in 1 year.
I could
Well, I
build
do-
a travel budget.
I have no problem with staying on the chair. I think what we've done with the logistics, that's a big help.
It's gonna help take a
Okay,
lot off
yeah.
your
That's
plate.
big, that's
There's a
easy.
ton of stuff on there that you were
And
doing.
there's still, I can be involved with a lot of things, but
Okay.
that's really just one less thing.
Yeah. That's,
Yeah, you were involved with like a ton of that stuff on that list.
So Melissa, Dana, you're okay?
Yeah.
All right. So I make a motion that we accept the Gold Rush Committee positions pending Lori Novak's response. And I'll call her tomorrow.
I second.
If Lori is not, she's going into her last year, so, of her term, so
oh my
I
gosh. that
hope
went
she can
fast.
stay, but is there anybody that would consider doing it?
I guess I don't know a whole ton about it. I would, if I could learn more, I would consider.
What, yeah, I was gonna say, what
It's
does,
not really
I don't think there's.
absence of me not here being at a meeting. There's really no other defined roles other than just general support and a go-to person. Typically, it's a person that's been doing it several years. Just
Which is
for that
definitely
awareness
not
type
me.
thing, so. Well, let me talk to Lori first.
Yeah, if we have an issue, we can revisit.
Mhm.
Yeah. All right, contract language.
Wait, we didn't approve.
Oh, all those in favor?
I,
Aye.
like contract language.
Okay. I sent out the contract language for comments and Well, first I got to contact with some Dana about some suggestions, and maybe we're not ready to discuss it yet, but we can.
So can I just hop over to you, Joanne, because, and I was gonna talk to Carol about this too. So on the website, there are 3 different, like, speaking of like confusing, there are 3 different,
Reservations.
there's so many things. There's the
contract
there's the
itself.
application, right? So everybody gets this application. Everybody gets this bird's eye. I don't know if people get this bird's eye view, but it's on the website. And then we have the contract. So there's 3 different pieces of paper that,
Plus the ST19 form.
yeah,
Yep.
so there's so many different things.
And they get
And so what
this.
I did was consolidated kind of everything from every sheet, making sure I didn't miss out on
We need this
whatever.
back.
Right,
Yep,
but
this
then
we
it
need
actually
back.
says at the bottom of this one, by signing this the reservation letter, so that's this,
Mhm.
right?
Right,
But that doesn't say reservation letter, it says application contract.
Mhm.
So I just think we really have to,
Signature.
Yeah.
Right, but what this is called, it
Oh,
looks
it's
like
not
it doesn't
reservations,
relate
okay.
and they should be
Right.
called the same.
Yeah, we need basic nomenclature that's going to stay the
right,
same.
we have to do some consolidation and cleaning up of things here. This is impossible to read. There's double talk with a lot of it.
I saw that too.
Yeah, and
Okay.
nobody reads this way, and I have pointed this out with city council too, like, people will only read like bulleted things.
Right, if
Nobody
you
reads
see
us.
it, yes.
Bold and bulleted, yep.
People
They
do
see
not,
all that, they're like, yeah, I'll look at that later, and they
Uh-huh.
never do.
so we have got
So we
to,
have to have it. in
100%.
writing, yeah,
we
for
just
them.
have to make, we have to clean
Streamline.
it up, streamline it, make sure, and see yours,
And make sure it's clear that they know what they need to be doing and paying attention to when they sign the contract, when they're coming here, the whole 9
so
yards.
beat up. I mean, I've been clearly hearing this around, working on it, or looking at it for a while. So I included everything and tried to, and I can send this to you guys, but the biggest,
But they wanted it kept on one page.
right, and I mean,
How many
I'm,
pages is yours?
well, this is me just also just like so jabbering and so, you know what I mean, and like, but basically from the one that's in front of you guys, one of the things I think we should put on the,
I don't have that,
you don't have the contract?
no.
I printed it from my email.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, it's okay, I can pull it up on my phone, I got it.
But, so the things I suggested were off the top of my head, considering Venmo or PayPal as payment instead of just accepting checks and cash. I don't know how you feel
I've
about
got a
that.
credit card, like, but for some reason, no, the committee did not want to do credit cards. And I don't know
So
if that's 'cause of the
PayPal,
fee.
if we do PayPal, PayPal's both. They can either pay using their PayPal account, or they can type in a secured credit card number through their PayPal account and pay you via credit card. And there's no, like, well, there might be a small fee once
There's a
we
fee,
create a
right.
PayPal account.
Yeah,
It's
there is.
very nominal though, as far as the opportunity to accept
There's
a
a
credit card.
fee, no matter if we decide to start taking electronic fees,
Yeah, because if they use their credit,
there's going to be a small.
if they
fee
use their
somewhere.
credit card, there's a fee, but if they use their bank account, it's not.
Yeah,
So
usually there's a
all different kind, because when I
Oh.
sold 31, it was a nightmare.
I'm
Well-
just making the point that PayPal has both, is both.
Yeah, and Venmo and PayPal are actually the same company.
Yeah.
But
But Cash App.
right, but I don't think we can do that much business. I don't think we can do
Yeah.
business like that on Venmo and have it be free. It's not like,
Yeah.
it's.
Well, and there is this new thing, if you haven't read about that, but the government is going to start trying to tax Venmo. And they're not doing it to PayPal. So anybody that receives more than $600 worth
Oh,
of
yeah, that's
profit
right.
on Venmo per year is gonna get taxed, but they're not doing it to PayPal. For whatever reason, PayPal's contract language excludes them, but they're gonna try to hit
All you
them
are doing
all.
is paying somebody back for
I know.
beer.
I just recently read that, so I'm just gonna make that statement too,
I
that they're
wrote
looking
on
at
Venmo.
taxing Venmo use, but not PayPal, so that might be
So-
something.
Or like at the high school for.
So just
for
something to
homecoming
consider,
tickets.
and I think that's something
Yeah.
we can bring back to another one, but when we,
Find another-
so that's the first thing.
Online bill pay of
I
some
like the idea
nature.
of taking care of this contract first. but-
Yep.
Do you have, okay, and then my question is, do they really provide a copy of insurance for the reservation?
I have no idea.
Some of them bring it in the day of. I
We do
remember when
the
someone was setting it
Food
up, they're like,
vendors and,
Okay,
yeah.
So,
Yeah.
And the other
so
vendors too, yeah.
Carol was definitely, it's required, but at some point, just.
okay, I just
Our
wanna,
for a
insurance
couple of
company
vendors
requires it,
coming to
Okay,
get
I just-
Bill
so
a
like-
copy of their insurance.
I just wanna make sure we're making this current, like I didn't know, and then,
I've never seen proof of insurance.
that's kind of what I thought.
In all the years I've worked with Carol, I've never seen it.
Right,
They have to do this ST-19, whatever that is for, the
Okay.
state. Yep.
Let's confirm that.
okay,
But
I
I
have
like
it
that.
as a question mark. The other thing is that, so subcontracting of lots, so I know Carol often lets people rent their lot to another person if they can't be there, blah, blah, blah.
Subleasing.
Is it, but this so two different languages, one of these says, or one of, somewhere says, the committee has to approve it, one of it says the event coordinator.
I think it
then-
should just be the event
I
coordinator.
think it should be the event
Yeah, we
coordinator.
don't need to
Yeah.
vote on people switching
Huh?
Why are
lots.
the two copies?
It's two different
Or have it-
things. What I'm telling you, these are all the things.
Well, this
As
is the
long
one
as
I've
that
ever seen. Where's
subletter
this
is
one?
selling
That's
the
the
same
bird's eye view
thing
of
that
how it
they're
works. This
contracted
is
for
another
though.
whole thing. So I mean, we gotta make it one thing.
Yeah,
That's
So
on the
who does this
website.
go to?
It's just on the website for anyone to
And
click
I
on or
think-
read or print.
Mhm.
So maybe that is just on the website and then this is what gets mailed to the.
Ooh, I think you need to
vendor.
make it the
But I
same.
think it has to be the
It has to be
same,
the
don't you
same.
think?
I would
Yeah,
think
so yeah, we need to draft.
Yeah, I would-
it.
okay.
But also when, so if
Bird's
they
eye
sub,
view is not a conflict.
Dana, is there wording in there if they sublet that the person that is subletting from them is also, they have to be selling something or whatever the contract is, that they have to follow the contract.
Yeah.
So they can't come in and if you
I
think you
mean-
have this vendor that's selling this and then they sublet it to someone who's selling
No.
something completely different or doing whatever, like a food or,
I think
you
that
know,
they would, the subletter would sign their own
would they sign their own contract?
No.
Nope,
they would-
only the vendor that's signed up for that lot signs it, and then they let us know, I'm not gonna be able to make it, I'm subletting it to this person.
We didn't
And
want
we
to get in the
make a note
subletting
in the-
business, basically. We wanted the vendor to do their own subleasing,
Yeah, they do that.
yeah.
And then what do they, like, I think Christine's just wants to know for
Like,
sure
I mean,
that
is
they
it gonna be something
understand
where
that
they bring in
the
like, you know,
terms of
some-
agreement. are
like
the
they,
same.
that they, yeah, that
That's
they,
between Them and the vendor that is assigned to that lot.
yeah, just so that it's not something really bizarre that happens. You know, like,
Right.
that's not what that lot was intended for,
And see,
and
then we would go back to the original vendor to say, hey.
Hey,
this
you
is
can't
what
have
our
this,
contract or
yeah.
whatever, Yeah.
and then they would have to, then the subletter would have to, same thing, follow the permits if they decide to sell food there instead of goods or whatever it would be, but yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I just want, just that way, just making sure we're covered. Same thing with a renter, you know, you get a sub renter in that has, you know, big dogs and you don't allow dogs and you know what I mean? Like you just want to make sure that they follow the rules of the Gold Rush too.
Thank you. So the other thing, so I just took them and I consolidate, like I did lot information, cancellation policy, vendor info, setup info, tear down info, parking info, to make it a little bit more readable.
Yeah, like.
And it does need to be consolidated, but this was just, and I can send this out to everybody. I sent it to Ryland today, but.
I like
late.
I like the grouping and. yeah.
But we have to, there's just a few things we have to make, we have to decide together, which the big one is, what are we gonna do to prevent the nonsense that happened this past year?
This is straight up.
Political aspect.
Straight up, this is what I'm gonna say. This is my opinion. I think that any sales of political material should be banned, period.
Well, here's what I wrote today.
It's hard, would be hard to.
But if you ban it for everyone, it's just banned.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
just
and
not,
obviously
it's not
weapons and
an
other things too,
antique
but
flea,
yeah.
flea market and community show is, it's just not, I don't know
So,
that that's the
no.
kind of big, that's not,
And we're not,
But
we're
what's
not
the
so many months
definition
from
of
a,
political?
an election either, so,
True, but I don't know that that should matter.
yeah. I mean, no, but I mean, seriously,
It's very common to
this year was
have,
not anywhere near an election and that kind of stuff shouldn't be out
Right.
anyways.
well, and it shouldn't, yeah. So it's very common to have language like this at flea markets, at antique shows. It's very common to have banned things. It's very
Mhm.
common. And so what
Yep,
I
agree.
here's this what I wrote, and this is just me like throwing things together today. And I would take any suggestions. We reserve the right to accept or reject any dealer. That was already in there.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I thought something was in
But-
there. Yeah.
That's all, it's where it went. And our lawyer said, you can't
It's too
kick this
blanketed.
guy out,
Yeah.
you know? We also reserve the right to remove a dealer without refund for behaviors in violation of this agreement. Behaviors, actions, or behaviors or actions that may result in removal from the show include, but are not limited to, being under the influence of alcohol or drugs, the exhibition of racist material of any kind, the use of vulgar language, the display of, selling, or giving away of items that display profanity, the display of, selling, or giving away of items that are not allowed or banned, and then I just wrote a list.
Be careful with the list because then, you know what I mean? Like you open a door if something's not on a list.
True, but I just was like, here, in my brain, here's what I was thinking,
No,
and
no,
here's what other
I'm-
places
I like
have
where you-
done.
Yeah, I like where it's going with, yeah.
It's guns, weapons, explosives of any kind, Confederate flags, political material, profane material, racist material, drugs, alcohol, tobacco. That one man was selling a bunch of those things.
Yeah.
He was selling something he listed out of the back of his truck. Many vendors came up and talked to me about it. So
No.
I don't know, I don't know what it was. I think it was
Like
probably
you,
Tannerite or
like you
something.
said to say may include but not be limited by these things. And then
Right,
that way
instead of examples of,
it's,
included in the actual like.
yeah, to say but not limited by this.
Yes.
That way you're saying, here's a list, but I'm not limiting it to just this list.
Yeah.
Examples, okay, whatever in here, if you have questions about items you would like to sell, please contact you
Oh,
know,
and then.
director or
Did I
whatever.
not get, oh, I must have added to it later, but I also said in somewhere, again, I was just researching what other shows are doing. Because this is a problem, especially with racist things. That's a huge problem with antique shows, huge. And
Well, cause you got the mammy stuff
Mhm,
and
and
where do you
it's-
draw the line
yeah.
with that?
right, and it's very, very, most shows are beginning to ask people not to display that anymore. And I feel like, why would we be any different? So I said something like, we reserve the right to inspect your booth and ask you remove items or something like that. Like, I think that should be in there too. So this is something we should take a lot of time and then to work on and maybe even, I don't know.
Definitely have an attorney look at it.
Yeah, I was gonna say you're
Possibly.
gonna have to subcommittee it. and then-
Possibly,
and then
I
have
think
an
it's
attorney.
a really important issue and so that
I think it's absolutely disgusting that we profited off of vendors who were
Uh-huh.
selling racist things.
And even just the Black Americana stuff that, you know, is still for some horrible, unfortunate reason, highly collectible in some circles. It's, yeah, I feel the same way about that as I do about political stuff. I don't feel that I don't know that there's a time and a place in this world for that stuff anymore. I just don't. But there are plenty of outlets for people that want to be involved in that stuff. I just don't think our gold rush is one of those places. That's where I'm coming from.
So
But
I'm
I
gonna,
like this, Dana, I like what you're.
I'll send
what you did
out
with that.
what I wrote, but you guys take it and edit it and think and throw in things. This was just me looking at what other places have done and
I think it's good that you're doing all of that
Thank you.
and we're including
Yeah.
it and then having the lawyer look it over before you
Yeah.
do the final sounds like
so contracts
appropriate.
are out end of March, right?
March.
Okay,
March.
so that's
Kind of
our
March.
deadline is March. So we have
Have it
time.
approved by,
We have time and I
February,
think we
March.
should all put, our little input into it and then.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
So is it allowed for Dana to send the draft to everyone via email?
you could do 3 people at a time, or is it?
Line copy it to everybody,
Yeah.
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 Okay,
Or I could,
So-
actually Joanne, usually what Carol did is like, we started, so Carol sent it to
Or I was gonna say,
Carol,
can you
Carol
get it
blind
to,
copied
yeah,
to
can you
everybody.
get
so
it to
then
Joanne
it
and Joanne can
Yeah.
distribute it for review?
Okay.
Yeah, that was it. Not
Okay,
like
good.
me, where I sent it to everybody
Donations.
and then just broke it the first, my first email.
Yeah, donation.
Totally.
I have
I
one,
sent it to everybody.
So here's
Start.
spreadsheet here, which shows,
Mhm.
I printed it,
Man,
yeah.
you came prepared.
Well, I like to look at stuff sometimes.
Joanne, you have it too?
I just print things out in really good intentions and then I remember that they're there 2 weeks later.
On your printer still? Uh-huh.
Well, I wanted to look at this before now, but I looked at just today. So I'm like, I better print it so I actually do it.
so the list shows in 2019, we gave out 23,000 at the bottom, just 23,250. 2019 for 2020 was 15,500. And we requested, there was 19,000 requested, and we ended up with 15,500. You can see the requested and what was donated or approved, how it changed from what the request was. In some cases, quite a bit, and some people got money that didn't request it for various reasons. So today we're looking at 11,415. I don't know why I didn't put that
But are
on.
you going to, from that
I'm sorry,
remaining for donations?
I'm sorry.
We gotta talk about the, it's
Yeah.
holding back up to 10.
Mhm.
Well, because you have 7,000 for operational holdback,
So right now,
but
we're talking
that's
about,
not including the 3,000 for 5K.
5K is separate, it's in
and
a
that was
separate
the
account.
question I had for,
Yeah.
should we include the 3,000? for
But it
5K?
is included in the balance available for operations and distribution, 18,000. That's including the 5K.
So the nice thing about,
That's actually true.
so the nice thing is that most of the
What's the
time,
18,000?
Of balance available, third
It's
from the
on
bottom,
Alyssa's treasure report.
and then hold back for
Oh.
7, and then so remaining would be 11,352, but if we were to hold back 10, we'd be at
Oh,
what?
you're talking about our list. Okay, so what,
The email list.
So many.
I didn't know what you were talking about.
This thing.
You're talking about the treasurer's report. Okay, got it.
Wait,
I lost my.
I thought you were talking about the donation sheet.
So what we would have left to discuss for donations, if we held back 10, we'd be at $8,352 that we would have available to donate for 2021.
Right,
If we held back 10.
and that
Well-
means 7 for operational
No,
and
right.
3,000 for 5K.
Well,
Right now,
and
there's
5K, the nice thing about the 5K is that the only thing we pay for early that is the deposit of $500.
Yeah.
And then everything else, we get all of our,
But if you want that kept in a separate budget line,
yeah, which I don't know how,
I don't think it has to be.
I don't know how that works.
well, because you have, yeah. 'cause
Again, you guys, when we
You've got your
started
budget,
this,
but then you've got your income from the donation, so it depends on how much you actually net. Like, do you know like the
Well,
difference?
that's
between-
why
yeah,
Alyssa's
it's-
line itemizing it, so that we know how
It's
profitable the
actually-
5K actually is.
it's right here. I actually printed it today because I wanted to know the same thing, but it's not, what is wrong with me? I have so many papers though. How are they tripling? Papers are tripling.
but isn't that the 2,896.48?
That is what she's saying
5K balance.
is for in the 5K line itemized, but you're right, it does appear that for operations and distribution, she's including that.
Okay, so net profit. So this year for the 2020, because I had Alyssa message me this, the 2021 revenue was for sponsors, it was 2,600 in sponsors alone. Okay, in racers, it was 2,865. So our total revenue was 5,465, and then minus expenses, shirts, the company, and other race supplies. This was,
That's the 2,800.
2,800, and then that was, yeah, and so our net profit was 2621.
So even if she has a budget line of 3,000, it's okay because she really doesn't have she doesn't have a carryover or variance, you know, her variance is much lower, it's like barely, what is it, 1,400? For, you know, if you think about it, she needs to have the amount of money to start up with paying the things that she, you know, for the company and for the t-shirts and things like that. But then that line item, her variance is lower because of the fact that she actually profits at the end. Does that make sense?
I guess,
I'm so confused about this though, because the 2896 is correct as far as the register goes. But she is including it in the available operations and distributions number.
Right.
So
So you you kind of like,
If we-
you have to subtract it in order to add it back in. Does that make sense? You have to have a, you know, it comes out and then it adds back in with the profit.
I don't know, the way I'm seeing the way that it's broken down is that if we want to hold back 10,000, we change that holdback, that operational holdback from 7 to 10. That leaves us at 835209 for donations.
Right.
That's one way of looking at it.
Yeah, because we have to have that carryover in order for us to be able to start up and run. And then at the end, we can see, you know, we always have that carryover cushion, that
I
nest
think-
egg. And you know what I mean? And then.
But is it a
Depending
gold
on how
rush
you're-
is it a gold rush carryover period?
Yeah.
Or do you want to keep it line itemized as 5K reserve funds?
Well,
I
I think
think-
both. You're
I
gonna have
think-
both in there.
right, I think it's 10, if we keep 10, then it's 10 and that includes,
That includes.
that would
5K.
include the
Maybe
5.
the 7 and the 3.
Yeah,
That'd be the 7 and 3.
yeah,
Right.
And then
that's
that
what
one,
I think, because
because you need to have operations, otherwise we can't, you know, we can't advertise, we can't do anything
Mhm.
to
But
make
Right.
it run.
Right.
in the budget,
give
for
it all
the,
away.
like I said, for the 5K, the budget
Is really 500 is what you need to
at the beginning,
kick it
yeah,
off. Yeah.
Yeah.
and then everything
Once we
else
start
is
taking in
way,
donations
yeah, everything
and
else is way later,
registrations,
yeah.
Yeah.
So whether we have 11,352 or 8,000 left, that's a substantial cutback on our donations,
Oh, yeah.
let alone fireworks, National Night Out and
Mhm.
fire department and those things. So what I would like to suggest is that we take, so what we ultimately would do is we would match the 15,500 for donations this year, which means we would take an additional $3,750, just round it off. Take that off of the 7,000. And then our American Rescue Plan, we could either put in for $7,000 towards operational, which would get us back to
The 11,352, yeah.
$11,000 for operational,
Mhm.
or we could ask for the 10,000 and make it like 13,000 or something like that, I think. But
I think the other way makes more sense, the first way. Is to take the grant money and put it towards operations
But do we,
but
and
they were-
use
but they
the
were short.
existing, our existing balance for donations.
But there's no guarantee
Yeah,
that we would get that. is
yeah.
there?
Oh, you have to apply for it or we
No,
already
no,
have the
no,
money?
it's
I
our
thought we
money.
already
It's a
had it.
city, it's
We
a city
currently have
council
it.
decision.
Yeah, it just has to be distributed,
Yeah.
but it has to be
But-
voted on, so
It
there's
does.
that risk.
So I've sent that proposal to our attorney, ask him, based on his experience or somebody within his or attorney's organization, how they have handled American rescue plans for other cities. It's been my impression is it can be used for nonprofit, and in our case, could be used as a nonprofit for operational amount because of what we didn't have an event last year. Our expenses this year was extremely high, and so we're short of operational funds. And I'm thinking the $7,000 would get us back to a $10,000 operational fund, which is something we've never had for years. And we've only got so much funds to use this year. It's $80,000, and we're using almost $30,000 of that for our water infrastructure well updates. We also have the Orinoco Food Bank as a possible possible request. I don't know if you've had any discussions on that
I
was,
was gonna talk to you after.
okay,
Yeah, and I have an addition too.
so,
Here's what I know though, because I actually had to talk to Mike about this, is that the nonprofit that does receive the funds is a subrecipient and must comply with all subrecipient reporting requirements. So it's going to require some of that. That's what
Say it again.
Mike
read
told
that
me.
again.
To donate to a nonprofit organization, a private nonprofit organization, they are considered a subrecipient,
Mhm.
and they must comply with all subrecipient reporting requirements.
Which we don't know really what those are.
So we have to make sure before we would make this kind of
That you have
decision,
all of your
that we could,
Profit compliance is done.
What are they
Yeah.
calling it? Subrecipient, what?
well, and I can, this
Will
is
you forward
in.
that to me?
So
Yeah.
if we
Well,
got
let's see, just a
7,
minute. So what he's saying is that we adopted with a resolution.
It doesn't matter if the city did, the Gold Rush would have to meet the requirements in,
And conform
Receiving.
to reporting issues as they deem
Right.
them necessary.
So that would be in our meeting minutes then, or?
I don't know. if
I
we
don't
want
know, I'd have to
What
look
thing
at,
is
he sent me the
smart, so
section and
We
everything.
don't on attorney fees here, so, but anyway.
Is there like a
If
statute?
you're asking, I'm asking, he's charged us both times, so. we need to
Well,
be
this was
very
about- no, this-
careful about what we ask.
This
here,
was
so.
about the food shelf, actually.
Oh, okay, that's okay.
It was about the food shelf,
But I mean, it's
that I
good
was-
information for the food bank and helps us out too,
yeah, but I had to ask him, because we had the food shelf and I had
but
some,
we'll check to see if we get the same answer from you.
oh, yeah. So I don't know, I do get nervous, like Joanne was saying, that does make me a little bit nervous.
I like a little bit of a cushion just because we need,
Yeah.
you know, we give it all away to everybody else, then we have nothing, then how do we build to give it away again? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
and to pray that we make money off the show. I mean, this year we were kind of really worried. I mean, we were,
Well,
you
the
know.
numbers are still very concerning. It's not,
Yeah,
they're
and
not good
so
numbers.
where, like Carol had suggested early on, maybe we need to hold back a little for carryover so that we can operate correctly next year, even if we have a small gain or hopefully not a loss, but a small gain next year, you know what I mean, to build on.
I think ten
And it's-
thousand is,
It's hard because how, you know, how progressive do you go? Or, I mean,
Personally, I would like to do hold back the 10,000, donate the rest. If the city chooses to donate to or Gold Rush,
the rescue plan.
yeah, if the
Right.
rescue plan
It's
money,
legit and everything.
if we can do that, I think we use that then.
To revisit and do an additional donation.
Or we invest it into the show and then we can make better donations next year. I
Yeah.
think we donate what we have this year. We don't depend on any rescue plan funds for donations. We made this much.
Yeah.
This is what we have.
We can't rely, we don't know how that vote would go anyway. We can't
Right.
rely on, we can't budget for money we don't know that we're gonna get.
yeah,
So that's kind of where I would like to do that. And then if the city does choose to do rescue plan funds to Gold Rush,
well, or the city could give it to the other organizations out there that we're not able to contribute to
that's
this
another
year.
good point.
You
Yep.
know, like National Night Out, you know.
Well, that, I have a couple, that's kind of
That
what
is
I,
actually
Yeah, that-
something we could do.
That's a city function though. That's a budgeted item for city right now.
right.
Yeah,
However,
but we donate to it.
right. And we did give National Night Out $2,500 in 2021, correct?
Yeah, that's what it
This
says
summer.
here, 2,500.
Well, that was from
That was
our 29, that was from our, yeah.
That's actually
Well,
not,
we did, it's in our city budget right now, yes.
okay. So potentially for 2021. The Cemetery Association, previously we've given what, 100 or 300?
So what's our starting point? 11,000?
8.
Mhm.
If we're gonna hold back 10, we have $8,300.
Yep.
That's what we have. Period. Whether we get money from rescue funds or not.
So that's gonna basically eliminate fireworks,
Yep.
National Night Out.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's what I'm saying, if,
But then we're gonna get, but then if we ask for 10,000, all of a sudden, then we got $17,000 from.
so
it.
if we do, then we can go back and say, Okay, so, I mean, do all these people know, or is it a known thing, or is there like a deadline that we have to give money in November?
It's expected, from my understanding, it's expected that we pay for fireworks. That's the biggest thing that's
Because
expected.
we always have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
But
if we don't have the money for
We
it.
don't, and you know
can't
what,
do
when
it.
I was out I was traveling, and I think I might have even taken a picture of it, but there was donation buckets at little places throughout town, like donate to the fireworks display, whatever. The community can, the community can pull that off. I believe if they really want fireworks, they will donate and whatever.
Well,
And
and-
it's not like we can't donate anything,
No,
but we have to, we just have to cut back. That's just what it is this year.
and if you look at the line item,
We have to check the fireworks contract too.
right,
to see if that's possible to
$7,000,
cancel too.
so it would be $7,000 of our $8,300 that we have to spend.
We might not have to cancel. We just have to raise the money.
Just need volunteers to raise it then.
I mean,
Oh,
Sherilyn,
you mean you think we're contracted to support fireworks? Is that what you're saying?
Well, I'm thinking that's what it says. I need
Potentially.
to read that, but there may be a time limit, a time period that we can cancel for the year by a certain time. That's what I don't know.
well, and that, again, that shouldn't fall on this committee to provide. Like, if the city defaults on it, they can't, if the city made a contract with money they don't have, that's probably
Well,
not wise.
That's true, yeah.
Cause that does, I mean, it pretty much, if that is a commitment or we're bound to that, that really, it kind of chases us off of almost all of our other donations.
Yeah.
Which we're
nearly
not bound
all.
to it. It's just an expectation. It's an expectation, but it does not mean
Well, it doesn't
It
mean that
draws
there's
hundreds of
nothing, it's
people,
just
yeah.
a little lower.
it's a
Right.
great night, but I think I'd rather spend money on give Pine Island area home services. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm gonna probably choose that, or I'm gonna choose.
We only have one
First-
request so far, and that's from Pine Island.
Right.
I have one, but like, I didn't know how to go about like,
What else?
I want to do something for, Pine
The
Island
dance.
cheer and
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 Century
the Century football.
football, for all the volunteering they did, I
Yeah.
mean, we would have been nowhere without them. I mean, all of our volunteers are amazing, but they really pulled
Pine
a
Island.
ton.
So that was my thought.
The passive
for,
aspect of housing and
giving a
400
donation
last
to
year.
Century and the dance, whatever, is. But what about the other volunteers?
2,000, we gave them 300.
Well, this was this was like a team group and
Well, and the reason I'm apt to say this is because they contacted us in advance of the show and
Yeah.
said, our teams would like to volunteer in a fundraising capacity and bring you a large group sum of people you can use for whatever the heck you want. We'll just have all these people there.
all day long.
Was really.
Well, and in the past, we used to have the Cub Scouts or Boy Scouts come and clean up.
And I would hope
and
we were donating to them too.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
Yep. So I guess that's in the same realm there, so.
Right.
Mhm.
But they filled our volunteer list for
Mhm.
garbages. And
We
she
need
said,
one
where do you need the help the most? And I told him, I'm like, I can tell you right now, it's
Well,
garbage.
you know, you were there. There was kids,
Yeah.
there was kids sitting around with nothing to do
I
because we had all
know.
those positions filled.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Which, please let us be in that situation and
I,
not. any
exactly, and
other
that's why we do
situation.
want to donate to them as well, because
I'd like them to come back.
definitely would like them to come back.
And then
and-
too, we should donate to the Civil Air Patrol.
Yes,
Mhm.
absolutely.
They're a great help.
Yes.
Then we don't have to
Oh,
do
yeah.
the barricades.
So I guess what do we need to?
What,
I
where,
need a motion to set the total request that we're gonna do first.
I make a motion that if we're going to hold back the 10,000, we have $8,352.09 to spend on donations.
Okay, is there a second?
Wait, what? Never mind. To hold back
10,000 and use $8,352.09 remaining balance for donation.
How about 83.50 for round figures?
Yeah, 8350 could just be, yeah. Sorry, that was just it's my math.
So
I'll second that.
So for discussion purposes, if we do get ARC money, American Rescue Plan money, 7,000 or 10,000, whatever that number is, we would not change our donation.
Not for
Not
this
for
year.
this year.
I think that would be something we would then pass on.
Okay.
You know, it can
Would pass on, I mean,
pass on to.
And reinvest in the show for 2022.
Well, and then pass on in our
In our donations next year.
For the next year.
So we just use it throughout 2022 as an operational expenses.
Because if you,
right, no, I'm just saying,
if we use
it's
this
substantial,
year's,
puts, you know, if it's,
but if we use this year's profits, right, as an example, if we had the same show that we had this year, next year, and we withheld 10, plus we got 7 in emergency funds, that would still only put us at 17,000.
mhm.
If you're using those
Right.
numbers, right, and carry them over, which still puts us barely back to where we were in 2018 or 19. As far as donations go, when you're looking at years of donations that are well over $15,000.
But we're only $3,500 from it now with 11,000.
Right. So, you know, even if if we hold back 10 and we still get 7, I agree with Dana. I think we hold it. That way next year we can say, guess what? We can pay for the fireworks this time. Instead of again next year going to them and go, guess what? We can't pay for fireworks again. You know?
And I'm just not comfortable budgeting or making decisions on money we don't
Right.
have, or money that might come with requirements.
Mhm.
So then when we decrease, when we carry over and we decrease, are we going to then just determine that we're giving less to the areas that we're doing and we're still giving to all that are on the list? Or are we gonna be moving things around a little differently?
Well, and
Cutting.
explain to me also this, do they need to fill out a request form to receive money, or do we just use this as a,
In the
Base-
past, typically.
we just do
hasn't. We
this.
get some requests, but we don't get all of the requests either, so.
In the past, they had to fill out a request. And they pretty much had to tell us what they were gonna use it for.
Yeah, that's
And
how
I
maybe-
still feel like that, I mean, that's how it should be.
That's how it should be, is
And
you
maybe
have the
that's what we
request.
have to really start getting back to. So we didn't do it this year. We didn't put requests out there. We also were unsure of our donation situation. So to be fair, we were. But maybe that is something like to be considered for a donation. You must.
Please fill out this
That used to
form.
be like in the newsletter, like.
So if you're gonna do up something quick for the newsletter,
And then it would be your,
can you
and
add?
then your award would be up to,
That says.
we would then determine the amount that we would pay for that request. It wouldn't be the full request maybe, but it would be an award.
Right,
We would
they all
then,
understood that.
yeah, say that you asked for this much, but we may or may not.
Well,
be
it would
able
have to be,
So here's, for
for next
example,
year, you mean?
2019.
But I don't think it's too late. Cause we
It's
need to.
really
get-
interesting because
Mhm.
in 2019, we had a request from the History Center asking for a donation for purchase office supplies.
You know, everybody, maybe people are doing
Golf
this.
Course Auxiliary, American Cemetery. Food Shelf, they asked for $500. Presbyterian Church for $2,000. The city asked for the donations for Gold Rush and National Night Out. So there was all kinds of requests on, I think, but
But I bet in that year you made it.
First responders.
Announcement in the newsletter saying, letting people know, hey,
I
your
think-
request for donations needs to be received by.
Yeah, so,
whatever,
that's what I'm-
October 15th.
That's what
Yeah.
I'm trying to say to Dina. Is it now too late? Or if she's writing up these 2 paragraphs for you for the newsletter, that the deadline was today or tomorrow, or whatever it was. Is it too late to put a little blurb in there saying, if you have not already requested funds for Gold Rush donation, please contact or send your request to whomever, Joanne, by November 15th, or the deadline is the December 1st, or what? Can we,
Yeah, we can
we
still do it in
do
December
something
or
now.
January. I don't think
We
that
can.
Because I think if we don't put something out there or make it known, like how to apply to get funds.
Most of these requests came in September.
Oh, those are for this year?
No,
Oh.
2019.
2019.
Okay.
Yeah.
What is our fiscal year for the Gold
That's
Rush?
what I was wondering.
Is it a calendar year or do we run differently? Just
Must be
wondering,
Calendar.
Huh?
Must be calendar.
because that's why I'm saying if the request came in for January, that would be 2022 fiscal
And I
year
wonder
then.
if there's something in the bylaws that says donations need to be, or
Oh, yeah, we could look at
something with
that
our
too.
the budget, you know, yeah. What if it's a nonprofit,
Whenever it all lies,
something?
you know, like RV is September 1st.
I wonder if it's a nonprofit rule that the proceeds need to be distributed by the end of the calendar year.
Yeah.
I bet there is something.
It's by the end of your fiscal year,
I guess
yeah.
I probably would know that.
But you can also, there's also with nonprofit too, you determine your carryover as well. So there's,
Right, but that'll be in our minutes.
yeah, exactly. Just so you know that there's no rules on the carryover and how much you distribute.
So what should we do?
Well, let's,
Check the bylaws.
Yeah,
If the bylaws say that we can distribute it whenever, should we go ahead and ask for donation letters to be received by
yes,
let's say by 1 December.
yeah,
December 1st?
yeah. I think it has to be out there. I think there has to be
Well,
like a,
by December 1st, I mean, we still can make
in our
decisions
December
in
meeting,
December
then we can decide, yeah.
and write the checks in December.
Okay, that's true.
Okay.
And then that way we can fill,
How do they
More
send the
people, but-
letter? Did they send it to our PO box?
They just get it, sometimes it was just dropped off at the office here.
Drop it
and
off
Put
at
in the Gold Rush
city office,
bin, yeah.
place in the Gold Rush bin.
Is there a form already made for that, or is it just kind of like an email we, like,
There's all different fine.
Right, just a letter.
they just write their own,
Yeah.
yeah, okay.
I think they just gave them to, this is just to the Gold Rush Committee.
Yeah,
How often do you check the PO box?
the PO box,
which,
I've been doing twice a week.
Okay.
I check the PO box and the
I
bin.
think they just gave it to, either sent it to
Carol always got it.
Carol, yeah.
So, okay, so I will, but then for
Going forward.
the groups, that is a different consideration then?
So I'm just curious if I write an
Same thing.
email saying as volunteer coordinator, I would like to
Oh,
see X
is that
amount
okay?
of funds go to blah, blah, blah,
No,
or
that
do I
needs to
need,
come in from-
Jessica has to
yeah.
request it?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
what about this W-9 business? Carol or somebody told Jessica she was gonna have to fill out a W-9.
For what?
I don't know, receiving a donation.
Oh, that's not a donation, it's just a Minnesota state law for new employees or new people getting paid. It's just claim exempt unless you.
So is that applicable because they were
the
a
Pine Island
team?
Dance and the football probably has an EIN number for nonprofit, so as long as she provides that, we can give a donation off their EINs.
So I'll just tell
The
them.
same thing for my PTA. When someone gives me a donation, I send them a receipt with the EIN and that's
Okay,
because they're not our employee. We're not paying them as an employee,
so then do we, because a couple of
we're
these
donating to the group.
are,
That makes sense, or the
Oh,
organization.
gotcha.
do we need to
We're
separately
donating
reach
to the
out?
dance club and to the.
Or do we just make a
Well,
Well, I
decision
don't
as
think we
a
ever had to
committee
do
for
that
like,
Boy Scouts, but-
like
Okay.
Civil Air Patrol? Like,
Yeah.
how are we
would that
gonna
work?
reach them and say like, oh, you need to request money, or are we just gonna
Well,
give them
don't
money?
you, oh, I was gonna say, as a volunteer coordinator, you would have that contact information.
Well,
Yeah,
actually,
Carol
I
did it.
will next year, but Carol did it this
Carol did
year.
it this year, so.
So if I get, or Joanne, if you can send me
Oh,
Civil
I'll
Air
send you- okay.
contact
Can
stuff,
you send it to the volunteer coordinator email?
yeah, then we will,
Well, I have to create that because I don't have anybody's
oh, it's
email
in
in my
Carol's.
contact list.
It should be in.
If you're using the BevCom address, it should already be in there.
Well,
I have to
it's, Carol uses Outlook.
I don't think we need a request, there's a lot of things. we
No, you don't have to create
Holly
one.
Jolly
No,
Lady.
if she's already
My
using the
Outlook,
Gold Rush
my
at,
Bevcom Outlook, for Gold Rush, I don't have any contacts in there.
Yeah, but you should just be able to sign into her emails.
Yeah,
You
but,
are in her.
no,
I
but,
already am.
but
it's
her
not logged in.
Outlook is
They locked, they
Her-
made it for this computer only.
Yeah, her Outlook is only for her computer. So
Only. So I don't-
Joanna, I
yeah.
can send you the
It's like-
contact list and then you'd have to build the, yeah, or I could build it for you if you want me
Because
to.
to
Or can
email
you
you
just
guys,
get
I had to
her a
add each
Gmail
one.
account and
Uh,
import the
that's the one-
contacts?
That's the one that I developed a Gmail account for Gold Rush in case we were getting rid of Bevcom, and I did do all of that, and that's where I collected all the photos.
But
So I'm just
even if
using it
we
as
keep-
storage place.
But even if we keep the Bevcom address, can't you make her a Gold Rush Gmail address and forward the Bevcom address to it? And then import the contacts?
Yeah, it's easy to do all that. You can actually go,
Let's help her figure this
you
out.
don't have to, I don't think you have to log in on Outlook either under Bevcom. I think you can do it under whatever
Can
it
you meet with
is.
Joanne and try to figure that out? Cause you can't get started out with no contacts in your.
I built all
I
that.
have, I have.
I built all the contacts in the other one.
You guys-
That's not sufficient. That's not
That's
sufficient.
insufficient.
It's insufficient. You need assistance.
But
You need
Joanna,
assistance.
if you want to get together with your computer and have me put it in your Outlook, I can build your and import contacts or build contacts for you pretty fast.
Oh, that'd be nice.
So I do it for all the Gmail accounts and do all that stuff. So yeah, I have everything listed, but yeah, for volunteer related stuff, if you could send it to, I know Melissa likes her home one, but for me, I have no room. And everything gets lost.
I already checked 5 different emails.
And so
I'm
I
terrible at
like
figuring out
having
which
it
one.
into just that volunteer coordinator spot, because then it just comes in and out of all there. So I'll get you whatever information you need.
Okay, so just to follow up, if you put a blurb in that newsletter,
Yeah.
We'll put
Just
a
the- and
newsletter
then,
about looking for a 5K thing and for,
We'll make sure you
Checking
can sell. So
the-
if you wanted me to help you with
And
it.
if you want to
if they
apply
allow
for a
us to.
donation.
If they allow us to,
I
we
could
can
just-
just the deadline. Renee's deadline.
Oh, that's right, because the newsletter's not going out till
Right, but we didn't,
after Thanksgiving.
right, but
Oh.
she wanted
So
the
1
deadline.
December's not a good date either.
The deadline.
Is she gonna let us send her 3 paragraphs tomorrow, or is she gonna stick it to us? That's my question. Is Renee gonna let us send her 3 paragraphs tomorrow, or is she gonna stick her today's deadline?
It'll be sometime this week, it'll be fine.
Well, do December 15th deadline. Or no, that's after our
Yeah, it has
December
to be
meeting.
before our meeting.
If we have
What
it
day is
by-
what day is it going out?
After Thanksgiving.
Oh, shoot.
Yeah, with the
I don't know the
mail.
exact date.
Right.
December 10th is that Friday before our meeting.
Yeah, maybe that. Okay,
December 10th is a Friday, and then we meet
And,
Monday.
oh, that's true too.
But
But
maybe put,
If that's the deadline, they
can't
should
put
all have them in
Gold
by
Rush
then.
we probably shouldn't put a request for Gold Rush donations on the city website, but we could put it on our city Facebook page or Gold Rush Facebook and website.
Well, nobody looks at websites for that kind of stuff, but we could put it on the citizens. Why couldn't we put it on the city page?
Or
This
in
is
the
why it's
newsletter.
supposed to- this is
Yeah,
why-
why can't it be in the newsletter if we say, if you are a local organization looking to receive donations from Gold Rush, please contact Joanne no later than Friday, December 10th or whatever the hell that date was.
Yeah, or even the ones that we've always had. Yeah.
Right, or send your request, however you want to
To
verbiage it.
bring
Yeah,
city
and then
hall.
The Gold
The
Rush
ones that are
email.
on our list that we have supported, ask them to send in their requests too.
Because that's, I'm looking at this list, if
That
you
makes
put it in
sense.
the newsletter,
know.
cemetery's gonna see it, food shelf's gonna see it, history center will see it, the churches are gonna see it. Obviously, National Night Out, 4th of July, that's the city, they're gonna see the deadline. City again, flower beds, senior citizens group, I don't know how much activity they have online, is that
Well,
yes or no?
That's Rosemary again,
Okay,
and she's also the Pine Island.
fire department will
I
see
can ask
it,
her.
first responders will see it. Holly Jolly may not, I don't know.
Oh, I love the
VF
blue.
is gonna
We've
see
I love the
it.
new lights. They look
We've donated,
awesome.
never was requested. How
Whose
enjoy
lights?
it.
Oh, I see.
No. the
And then
ones on
Civil
the
Air
bridge.
Patrol, Joanne, if you send that to me, I'll call them and
Yeah,
tell
they
them.
look so pretty.
I,
They're all
Yeah,
out in the
you'll take
snow.
care of the dance and the
They'll do
football.
dance and football.
I have that.
Yeah,
here.
Jessica.
I will contact, I have that too,
Okay.
to contact
Yep.
Jessica.
Okay.
And VFW,
Can you CC me too, Melissa, with Jessica, so I know what's going on?
Mhm.
Or, CC the
I can
volunteer,
make sure the VFW auxiliary.
Make sure they find out.
So I can-
because, Yeah, that way in case Jessica comes to me, because I see her at Century,
And I guess I'd preface it
that way I just know what's going
that
on.
we do have limited funds too. Because we're not gonna be able to order. honor
Yeah,
the
due to
request.
limited. Due to
Or
limited-
say, requests will be, reviewed by committee on the, whatever the committee night date is.
13th.
13th. Requests will be reviewed via committee and donations will be made based on available funds.
For fund availability.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, damn it, why don't you just write it? That just sounded really good.
Ask me to repeat it now, I can't.
I know.
No, I was gonna say that's my husband. He like has the perfect things, and then I'll be like, wait, I didn't finish typing that part. And he'd be like, and then he says it differently. I'm like, no, you said.
Yeah,
this
just so
sentence."
that it's disclosed that just because they request it doesn't mean that's the
Yeah.
dollar amount they're gonna get.
Yeah. Because then we could still give, but
Requests will be reviewed, donation requests will be reviewed by committee Monday, December 13 or whatever that day is.
We're at our next Gold Rush meeting, well.
yeah,
Or December Gold Rush meeting, you can just put, because there's only
It
one.
would be distributed, what did you say? With,
funds available based off of
Requests will
funds
be reviewed on
availability.
December, blah, blah, by committee. And monies or funds distributed based on
Availability.
availability.
That's nice and general, but to the point.
They can request whatever they want. We'll give them what we can.
Yep.
okay,
Okay, that works good. And this is the one, and this is the letter that, this is for this year, right?
mhm.
Yes, it's got the date. Yeah, whatever the date is, yeah.
Mm.
Okay, all in favor of the motion that we made here?
Did we make one?
Yeah, that was just a long
We made a
discussion.
motion to,
That's
the
okay.
second to use the 8350.
Oh. Holy buckets, yeah, we did a long time ago, okay.
Any other comments? I just think it's way too low for. It's way too low. I fully understand why we're doing it this way. I think it's unfortunate that we're gonna cut out and minimize a lot of the contributions to a lot of people. And we're talking about $3,500 difference between what we have today. Well, no, I say with what we were proposing originally with 11,415.
do keep in mind, it's devastating. I agree, the numbers, I hate it. But keep in mind, like, you know, all this COVID business has been hurting businesses for the last 12 months. We are one show that happens in 3 days, the end of August, and COVID is catching up to us now. These are our COVID ramifications. It's once a year for us. We were not gonna know what these are our COVID numbers. This is what's happened to us because of not just 2021, but 2020 when we didn't have a show at all. This is the outcome. This is what happened. It's just,
And
It's
our,
awful.
and our decision to hold back that is also due to 2020 and the fact that we had to start a show completely broke
Yeah.
in 2021.
nothing.
And that is something we don't want to ever have to do
Yeah,
again.
that's a good point.
Because, yeah, we had such a slow
Well,
startup
we
and
had
build and.
And that's not a
we couldn't do
lesson,
much.
and that's not something we could have predicted, but you don't ever get to predict these things. That's life. And
And
this
if-
is just ensuring, that we are more comfortable next year to be able to put on the show that that the community deserves and our vendors and shoppers deserve. And by doing so, we will be able to give back more to the community in the years to come.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I do think, I don't mean to be the devil's advocate, but there is, it's nice to think that we can ask the contractors to not do something, but I don't think that's gonna be very realistic of us to ask them to change their plans, but there is a possibility we may not have a show next year too. Just because of what could happen. If they decide to start here in downtown versus the west side, or they want to start south of the river or wherever they want to start, maybe they want to do lift stations first, I don't know. We don't know that yet. But I'll just say that to be saying it, but I just think is that a possibility? I said, yes, it is. I think hopefully it's slim, but I think it's something that we need to be realistic about. But I think somewhere in the next 2 years, there will probably be a time where we may or may not have a show.
Well, that's what I think, then we revisit the park using other property and doing something else besides, canceling completely. That's where I think we have options. We have some
Yeah.
great options. We
Mhm.
have a whole other side of town. We have beautiful parks. And I think
Mhm.
instead of canceling, we can
Yes, sure.
really
We can
think outside the box and prevent that from
we can
happening.
eliminate some of the right of ways, not putting all the right of
100%.
ways too.
Yep. I think that's huge.
So there's a lot of options, but I don't mean the bearer of bad news, but I'm just trying to be realistic here.
If something, yeah, okay. Yeah, I hope that doesn't happen.
Because they have time limits and they gotta spend their multi-million dollars to do the job and
Mhm.
we can't go be too, it'd be nice to ask that, but I don't think that's really because the contracts are written right now, and what was accepted was 1 week of cold versus no construction, so.
Yeah.
We'll just keep our fingers crossed, I guess.
Right. All right. All in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Okay. And we'll put that in the newsletter. And I will approach city staff about putting in a just very brief request for donations to Gold Rush by December the 10th, very limited. Not make reference to either Joanne or Carol Olson, or drop it off at City Hall or something like that.
Put it in the Gold Rush bin.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, I think that was the last thing on our agenda.
Yeah, Dana already did social media.
So we'll plan on reviewing the donations and approving the donations and sending the checks out on December 13th or shortly after. So we just finished this.
I have one just quick question. You know how we were talking about like, what is our calendar or our fiscal year? You know how you were just asking that?
Yeah.
Like, how do we know, or like, so if today's meeting is the annual agenda meeting, does that have anything to do with our fiscal year? Does that mean it's November to November?
But
Well,
it's always been
Right, all of
calendar
November.
year.
yeah,
And we used to never have a December meeting.
Okay,
So I think that's why the annual meeting was
Mm.
declared in November, because we never had a December one.
plus you are required, like probably in the bylaws too, to have an annual meeting and have certain things like a financial review, and you have to have it at least once a year,
okay.
so.
I just wanted
I
to
can see
clarify
where-
what is the actual meaning of an annual meeting.
Yeah.
I just wanted to know what more of the definition of that is, or purpose.
Okay.
All right, sounds good.
Any other things that there's one little thing. T-shirts, but we are gonna table that, obviously. Okay,
Yeah, the highlight, the italicized is just keep it on the agenda and,
Well, that's a good idea.
oh, that's what that was.
yeah. And the lines through them too.
Oh, I see.
Okay. Either to keep on the agenda. Okay,
Yeah, placeholder in case.
okay, everybody. Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Before we leave, I'd like to thank Lizzie.
Yes, thank you, Lizzie. Who's gonna wrangle our
Wish
chickens?
you the very best in Texas.
Wait, what?
See how it goes.
It's gonna have to be,
Okay, wait a second, I need to be brought up to speed.
Me too.
oh,
I didn't know Lizzie was leaving either.
You're leaving?
Yeah, we're
Like-
going to go to Texas.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Cool.
Moving?
Huh?
Moving?
Moving. Like, we're gonna put the house on the market and see what happens.
giddy up.
What a fun adventure though.
Yeah, we figured if we don't do it now, we'll never
Yep.
know. And
Is that where your dad lives?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I was gonna say, because we all want to party on his island, right?
Yeah, well,
We kept telling him.
on the island. It'll be cool. We don't have anywhere to live, but I don't know, we'll
I
get
thought you were
there
going down there to live with the in-laws
with my parents.
or your parents.
Yeah,
They haven't said yes either.
no, they have a 2-bedroom house,
Oh, wow.
so.
But it's Texas.
You need to
it's
order a
warm.
tent on Amazon.
I was gonna say it's warm.
There's very scary
A yurt?
creatures that live
You can do a
outside
yurt.
in Texas.
Yes.
You can definitely do a yurt down there.
That's true.
So are you moving before your house is sold?
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's what our realtor recommended, so.
well, you know.
It won't be a problem.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it's not gonna be a problem, I don't think.
So
Knock
where
on
are you
wood.
going?
We're gonna head down before, Thanksgiving and then
Oh,
we'll
my.
come back up and, back and move a couple weeks after that, probably.
Wow.
So,
Wow.
We should do it this at the council meeting on the 16th and the resignation is effective on the next day, the 17th, so she can join us, so.
So out
Sure,
of
appreciate it.
curiosity, how does that work with council? We have is there an election or you can appoint someone or what happens with that? Just as a resident, I'm asking as a resident.
Well, yeah,
You can appoint?
we have two options, either I can appoint
Melissa's gonna
somebody to
run.
finish.
I can't, I'm township,
Oh, that's right.
I can't.
So either we
But
can,
you can, Christine.
No, I can't.
yes, you
we
can.
can
If
appoint
Paul-
somebody to
if Paul
fill out
quits
what was
planning and
Chris
zoning, I
Shields'
can.
4-year term, which is next 1 year from now.
Okay,
So Lizzie came, we interviewed and appointed her.